Welcome, everybody. Good morning and welcome to All Access here on a Friday morning at the end of the week. Once again, coming back with several exciting companies to bring you guys on All Access. We're going to roll our intro to the start of the show, and then we'll get rolling with our first couple of companies. Awesome. All right. And we're going to go ahead and get started with our first company in just a couple of minutes here. A couple of things before we get started. What is All Access? What is the All Access show? This is the show where we bring on executives from most exciting companies in their respective sectors and industries and ask them directly what's going on in their sectors, what's going on with their companies, what news has happened recently, and what things should we be looking for in the near and long-term futures too. What are the growth plans for these companies? What are new products coming out, new announcements, new partnerships, anything that could impact these companies and impact their sectors and spaces too that investors should know about. And we get a direct line to these executives to ask them questions live and talk to them about the futures of their companies and what makes them special in their space. So before we get started with our first company, we also have a couple of people to thank. We want to thank our Ticker sponsor. Ticker is a platform that allows you to get stock perks for the companies that you're invested in. You can get involved at ticker.com, Ticker with two eyes. We're going to roll the intro video for them so you can get a look at what they do, and then we'll go ahead and get started.
What is Ticker? That's right, Ticker with two eyes, just like you. Because it's for you, for investing, for stock perks, for connecting you to public companies who reward you as a shareholder, as a brand lover. That's why people can't stop tickering. Ticker, where investors discover shareholder perks and consumers become investors in the brands they love. Ticker. Start tickering today.
Excellent. All right. So, of course, you can get involved at ticker.com, TIICKER. Awesome to get involved there because, again, the companies that you're invested in, you can get stock perks for, consumer-facing products, Nike, Amazon, other things that offer products that you shop for every single day, just getting perks for these companies when you're invested in them anyway. So you can get involved at ticker.com. We want to thank our sponsor. We're actually going to have the CEO of Ticker himself, Jeff Lambert, on in a couple of weeks here, inside the next couple of weeks on All Access. You can talk to him directly, figure out how to use the platform, ask him any questions that have been in your mind since we've had Ticker on and we've been announcing them for the last year. They sponsor every single All Access show. And of course, a big shout out to them as our sponsor for All Access. Now, a couple of other smaller things too. Once again, the $100 giveaway that we do for All Access every single week. You can fill out the form in the description under the YouTube video below, or you can scan the QR code on the screen, get entered to win, and we'll announce that winner during the next show after All Access for that $100 giveaway. So make sure you fill out that form. And then a couple of other things before we get rolling. Introduce our first company. You're more than welcome to ask questions to these companies as they come on. You're more than welcome to jump into the chat, ask them things about what they're dictating, what they're talking about, what they're bringing to us, and ask spin-off questions that we will attempt to bring up with these CEOs and talk to them live as we're doing it. So throw your questions in the chat, ask the companies what you want to know, and in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and get rolling and bring our first company on this morning, Tricia Symmes, the CEO of Aleafia Health.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us, Tricia. Where are you coming to us from?
I'm coming to you live from Toronto.
Thank you so much for being here, Tricia. It's a beautiful morning here in Detroit. Hopefully the weather's good in Toronto there as well. We're very excited to have you and Aleafia joining us. So get us started. For anybody here that hasn't heard of Aleafia Health before, what is the company all about? What's your stated mission? Give us some background here.
Yes, absolutely. So Aleafia is a Canadian licensed producer in the cannabis industry. Our goal and vision really is to become one of the top 10 leading licensed producers in the adult use segment. We focus on adult use, medical cannabis, international. We are a rising star among the industry, and we're really focused on bringing branded cannabis products in our portfolio. Our mission is really to build a global cannabis brand through education and research, the development and advance of cultivation and science, and really having Canadian-produced cannabis products.
Outstanding. Okay, so take us through some of the specifics of the business. What are some of the challenges of operating medicinal cannabis clinics? There's so many interesting things that you guys do. Obviously, you have the products in your company as well. But what are some of the challenges you guys have faced? And how do you feel your business has evolved over the last couple of years, overcoming obstacles, overcoming challenges, and that sort of thing?
Absolutely. If you go to actually the first slide, I can give you a very good overview, the focus and the transition of the company. Aleafia started out as mostly a wholesale producer of cannabis. They had a small medical footprint, and they were not a player by any means in terms of the adult use sides of the business. And as you will have seen in the Canadian cannabis industry, it was largely a wholly medical business up until legalization, where you saw the adult use type of portfolio start to grow rapidly across the industry. As a result of that, we've seen the medical side of the business decline as patients have had greater access to adult use products. The availability of retail chains and stores has increased, and also the opportunity to purchase outside of just flower, but 2.0 products. And all these products have been readily available on the recreational side of the business. So for Aleafia, we've taken a strategic stance on how we can transition our business from being largely a wholesale producer into focused on branded cannabis revenue. And there's really three core areas that we've positioned the company. First is to become a leader or a top 10 adult use player in the recreational side of the business. And I'll spend a few minutes talking a little bit about our flagship brand, Divi, and the significant rise that that's had, really focusing on value-based cannabis for consumers, where you receive exceptional quality of product at a price that is affordable, and really creating a strong following there. I can share with you that historically 90% of our revenue would have come from wholesale product, and now we have 90% of the revenue that is actually coming from branded cannabis products in market. Have developed a very strong following behind that brand, and are the second fastest rising LP in terms of retail growth and pull through as of last quarter. The other core differentiator of our business is we focus on the medical cannabis side of the business, where we have significant leadership. The medical business is different in the sense that patients there are usually patients with requiring chronic therapy with prescriptions, and require specific types of medication across not only nutraceutical but health and wellness. And we offer a platform where these patients can receive a prescription, they can be educated, and then they can receive their product and delivery within the same day. It's a large differentiator in the cannabis sector in the sense that it is higher margins, it's more sticky recurring revenue, and we've now rose to the second largest LP in terms of medical cannabis with over 7.5% market share. So that's a significant differentiator than some of the other Canadian licensed producers, in the fact that we have two very strong chains that contribute to our revenue. And the third one, which is a growing sector for us, is the international side of the business. As you will see, the European market is starting to evolve. Right now, it's just a medical cannabis legislation there, but there is anticipation that recreational use will become legalized in the next few years there. And Aleafia has established direct partnerships and distribution channels on the international side of the business, again, differentiating us from some of the traditional Canadian LPs who just focus more on the domestic adult use size. The international side of the business allows for significant growth of the company. It is the highest margin stream for the organization, and it is one that represents the strongest growth potential. So when you look at these three groups together and how we positioned our portfolio, it's really allowed us to transition the company from a lower margin wholesale producer into a very strong branded cannabis company.
Outstanding. Okay, and we want to talk a little bit about the cannabis products too, right? The products that you guys actually have. You mentioned wholesale and everything else earlier. Talk a little bit about some of your products in detail, some of the ones that you guys are most proud of, and some of the best performers too for you guys.
Excellent. So I'll start with Divi. So Divi is our flagship adult use brand. This product focuses specifically on everyday cannabis. It's also focused on high volume, high margin, and it allows us to be able to compete in a variety of sectors, including flower, pre-rolls, and vapes. Those are the three largest categories within the Canadian adult use sector. Most recently, our Divi brand has hit the top 10 and top 5 and 7 position in milled flower and pre-rolls, and we continue to see excellent growth on the vape side of the business. We also focus on another health and wellness brand, our Noon and Night portfolio. This is more of a CBD-focused health and wellness lineup. It allows for CBD topicals, capsules, as well as bath products. This helps for your kind of everyday wellness routine. In addition to more of a nutraceutical play, we have products that help with sleep. We've combined some of the traditional nutraceutical products like melatonin with CBD, in addition to omega-3 with CBD. And you see products such as these that are allowed really to help patients who are suffering from chronic conditions, anywhere from anxiety, pain, sleep, health, and wellness, and really products that help with your everyday health and wellness routine, from roller balls to topicals and bath bombs. We've really created a segment within the market across both the medical space and the recreational space where consumer health and wellness products could be front and center. The other part of our Sunday market portfolio is a Bogart's Kitchen. We've taken a decision to look at innovative products that can be used within your everyday lifestyle. They focus on unique edibles in addition to a sea of gummies and chocolate. We really stand by doing things different within this category. We have a unique infused hot sauce that can be used in everyday cooking and life that has been one of our top sellers. We're also coming out with maple syrup, and this is going to be an infused brand that really can help differentiate in the market with products that are, everyday Canadian used products, but where we've been able to infuse them. We infuse products sometimes in partnerships, and we've done that really to increase our presence and reach across the more, stoner crowd who are looking to gain access to products that they're more aficionados and interested in some of these unique derivatives. And then lastly, Nith and Grand is our craft portfolio. And all of these brands fall under our Sunday market house of brands. We felt it very important to be able to offer differentiated products to our consumers from value all the way to craft. Our Paris facility is a craft designation, which allows us to produce very consistent, high quality THC premium products at high level of quality and flower that we bring to the market. And last but not least, certainly is our kin slips, which are an excellent product that are used both recreationally and across the medical portfolio, which are a sublingual strip that goes right underneath your tongue. It acts very fast acting within 15 minutes, both in CBD and THC portfolios, but it's really a product that you can take for consumers that are on the go. And I guess if I was just to summarize up the entire portfolio, we've taken a very thoughtful approach to bring products to the market that are already part of everyday consumers' practice, but adding the benefit of adding CBD and THC to these products.
Yeah, so the thoughtful approach is very apparent, right? And I guess what I want to go into more detail is when you look at product development and your new product pipeline, anything new that you guys are looking to add, how do you stay on top of consumer trends, your consumers' trends, right? What people are looking for, what you think is going to be popular next? What do you guys look into in the future to determine what's going to come down your product pipeline and onto your shelves next?
Yeah, no, I think that's an excellent question. The cannabis industry is a very fast-paced, dynamic industry that literally changes weekly. As product development, we really look to understand the consumer's needs and specifically what is their focus and what are going to be products that we know that are going to be high margin, that are going to be consistent sellers, and that are also extensions to lines that we've already created that are very successful. So we do spend a lot of time understanding the consumer demographics and their needs. If I was to share with you, a little bit where we're focused on, the three largest categories within the sector are flower, pre-rolls, and vapes. We take a leadership position in two of those, and we're consistently looking at how we can expand our Divi portfolio and bring products that are line extensions within that. So a couple examples are the US market is always kind of leaders in what is to come next. Specifically, we've seen a huge growth in infused pre-rolls in that market. That's been slower to take hold in the Canadian market, but we're starting now to see that this is an area where you could take excellent quality flower and infuse it to be able to achieve those higher THC levels. This is now within our sites where we have looked to expand our Divi portfolio across that level. Excuse me. Our Divi pre-rolls are something that we're also expanding. Currently on the market, we have 0.35 by 12 and 7 gram by 1. This is a category where we take a significant leadership position just based on the quality and differentiation of our product and on the price point that we've entered the market in. We will be expanding that lineup as we bring additional pre-rolls to that category as we move into the new year. And we're also expanding on our CBD medical portfolio. The wellness space is one that will be growing, specifically when you see new cannabis consumers come into the market who may not have traditionally or historically thought that they would be using these products. We've seen an excellent growth, not only on the medical side of this business, but also on the adult use side for your non-traditional cannabis consumer. And we also know that this portfolio is one that would transition very nicely over into the OTC category when CBD eventually becomes legalized. We have taken an opportunity to focus on products that help patients. An excellent example of this is our omega-3 CBD soft gels, and more recently, our nightcaps product, which combines CBD and melatonin to help people in their everyday routines and life, and when they're looking really to have that consistent health and wellness ritual and routine.
Amazing. Okay, having a good understanding of the business now, what you guys are doing, and how you look at the marketplace, and especially your consumers to see what's coming next. We want to look at recent news too, and other things that you guys have been up to. The most recent news, I think, when we talked with your team earlier this week, you guys had just had your annual general shareholders meeting. Not sure if there's anything specific that you can bring out of that, but is there anything that you want to highlight from that most recent meeting? Anything that you want to share for investors?
Yes, thank you. So we just had our AGM actually this Tuesday, and this was really to report on our year ending. We've now moved into a new fiscal year. Some of the key highlights for us is that if you go to the second slide, which really looks at the demographics and transition of the business, that will show you specifically the change in revenue growth. Perfect. That's it. Of our company. So if you look historically at fiscal year 2022 and the transition of that to Q1 of fiscal year 2023, you will see that it has been a dramatic shift in the way in which our business is positioned. As I mentioned earlier, we have moved from 90% being a wholesale producer a year ago to now 90% being a branded cannabis revenue producer. And that's really largely made up of our net revenue increasing by over 67%. And this was an instrumental decision that we made to really shift the business to ensure that all of our flower would be going into branded cannabis products. And when you look at the flower that we produce, this comes from a greenhouse flower, indoor flower, and we are the largest outdoor producer of flower from our Port Perry site. Historically, we would have other LPs that would purchase our outdoor flower to use in extraction. Now we've created brands in the milled category and the pre-roll category where that flower goes directly into branded cannabis revenue. The importance of this is, significant in the fact that you increase your margins dramatically, and we've also increased our revenue base by over 67% in the last 9 months. So that's one major transition of the business. If you go to the next slide that's called aggressively capturing adult use market share, you will be able to see the growth in our LP rank over this period of time that was presented at our annual general meeting. A year ago, we were close to 30th position in terms of the adult use ranking in the market. We have now rose to 12th position with 2 of our products, our pre-rolls there that you see on the screen, Divi pre-rolls, and our flower hitting the 5th and 7th ranked positions, clearing the top 10. And our growth trajectory continues to show that we are the second fastest growing LP in terms of retail growth as based on High Fire data. So the transition of our business has been, incremental, but also growing at a rapid rate compared to some of the other LPs. If you go to the last slide, it shows you the breakout of revenue. It's called Divi breakout results. This shows you the growth of, close to $100,000 when you look at it almost 14 months ago to over $10 million in revenue of the Divi brand as reported of the last quarter. Significant growth of this business. I would say that our demand for product outpaces our actual supply. And we have also looked at ways in which we continue to bring innovative products to the market to help build on this portfolio. The other benefit of our business is that we've taken a very important strategic approach to really reduce costs. As you know, it's been a very challenging environment in the Canadian market for Canadian licensed producers to hit profitability. You can have, the strongest gross revenue, you can have the best top line sales, but if you're not profitable, that's not a sustainable business model. We have taken out over 10 million in savings out of the company over the last 7 months. We have reduced our SG&A from 9 million to 4.5 million as reported in the last quarter. And we have completed complete overall company cost rationalization and restructuring to make sure that we're a very lean organization that is focused on aggressive growth on the top line, but specifically with high margin products. And our objective is to become one of the first publicly traded companies to be EBITDA positive, which we're on track to hit at the end of this fiscal year.
Outstanding. Now, you mentioned your revenue base too, and I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to talk about some of the revenue growth that you've seen. 12 million total net revenue in the first quarter. It's a 13% increase over the prior year. And then also 43.1 million in net revenue in your 15-month fiscal year. Those are both big increases. You talked about your revenue base, but what are some of the drivers that have led to some of this revenue growth that you've seen? And what are you guys going to lean on more heavily to keep this momentum going into the future too?
So the first largest driver is moving from wholesale cannabis to branded cannabis, because this is repeatable purchases and sales where you have products that you've developed a loyal consumer and customer base for. When wholesale revenue is spotty, it's opportunistic. We have really leaned into the Divi brand. We have a phenomenal following with that brand. Are also being very thoughtful about the types of products that we continue to extend on that portfolio. One of the most important things in the cannabis industry is you can't be all things to all people. So we've really tried to be very specific on how can we add additional SKUs and products that are line extensions to our portfolio that will help to increase margin, but that are not necessarily going in a completely different direction. So when we know that the pre-rolls are doing exceptionally well, we're continuing to ensure that we have pre-roll SKUs across every element of that value chain. Same thing with formats of flower. Not only do we offer, a 3-gram format, but a 14 and a 28. So it's important that you have the spectrum of that product once a consumer is engaged with it and has product they will have repeat purchase through, that you're offering different formats and volumes and sizes. One of the other strengths of our business is that we have a direct sales force. So our direct sales force is specifically Aleafia focused. They are experts within the cannabis industry. They are aficionados in their trade. They only represent our brands, and they develop very strong relationships with the bud tenders and the retail stores, which helps ensure that we are always on the cutting edge of the newest products that we'd be bringing to market. But it's also important because it allows you to have that shelf space. So we will continue to focus on expansion, not only of our SKUs and portfolio as part of the growth, but within specifically just those high margin areas. So in flower, pre-roll, and vapes. But we will also start to expand into more of a national presence. Historically, we have only focused really on Ontario and Alberta, with more limited sales in BC and Saskatchewan. And this has specifically been because we wanted to establish a depth and penetration in the 2 largest markets. We now have the opportunity to expand into the rest of the provinces in the Canadian market, and this will help increase to ensure that we have a national portfolio and will help to drive that revenue growth to a new level. The second lever in terms of how we're going to continue at the same type of rate of growth is our international business. We have secured 2 international partners, and most recently volume commitments for over 4.5 million annually. We have created our indoor craft facility that will directly focus on international distribution. We now ship to Australia and Germany, and we've had historical shipments to the UK. And this will become part of our broader expansion into that market that will help augment offset the lower margins on the recreational side to ensure that we have a very high margin business, driving to cash flow positive next year.
Amazing. Okay, a lot of good info there. I also want to look at the potential market opportunity from your eyes, right? When you look at your industry as a whole, what Aleafia is doing right now, all the different parts of your business that come together to make you what you do, what would you say are the potential market opportunities for Aleafia, for the industry as a whole, and how much market opportunity do you think you guys are going to carve out over the next 5 years?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. This market is changing dramatically, as you know, quarter over quarter. I think you're going to start to see a lot of consolidation in the Canadian cannabis industry. You have, some of the larger, top 10 main players who have produced significant flower at scale and who have taken a large ownership in the leadership position in some of those big categories, specifically, the flower and the vape categories. But you're also seeing that those larger producers are starting to lose share at a dramatic pace. And it's some of the up and coming rising LPs, such as ourselves and a few others, that have really capitalized on bringing products to market that consumers want and ensuring that you have high quality products that are repeatable and consistent. And that has really allowed some of these smaller LPs to start to steal market share and become a major player on this side of the business. I also think when you operate at such a scale like that, you're going to have challenges on maintaining your position and just on the cost that it takes to be able to drive that type of volume. And the infrastructure to support that long term will not allow for profitability. I think you will start to see that there'll be amalgamations and mergers between those companies, that range from the 15th to 10th position, where coming together where they have like synergies will really help establish a competitive presence. You will also see companies that will just not be able to sustain the level of cost investment with the margin profile of this industry, who will fall by the wayside. And I think big changes will have to come specifically in Canada with regards to the excise tax and the percentage that the provincial and federal governments take from this business. Unfortunately, they're not the high margins that were expected, initially in this industry, with excise tax at some points being north of, 30-35%, which puts a significant strain on not only the producers, but then also on the ability to ensure that you're running a profitable company. I think on the actual retail side of the business, you're going to see a lot of these independent retailers will not be able to sustain the inventory levels. You've seen the growth of, cannabis retail shops on every corner within the same area. And it's very difficult to compete with your competitors down the street that are more, provincially based or have national distribution. So I think you will start to see consolidation and amalgamation of retail stores. And I really think that it's going to be the companies that are able to get to profitability quickly and maintain that level that you will see that will be maintained. It's very similar to, if you look at the pharmaceutical industry, about 20 years ago, you started to see significant amalgamation between companies that had synergies. I think you will see something very similar here in the cannabis industry over the next 18 months. You're also probably going to see a transition in vertical integration. It was once thought 2 years ago that a company needed to be everything from seed all the way to sale. So growing your product, cultivating your product, producing innovative brands and products, and then distributing those. I think you're starting to see some companies that have mastered cultivation and are able to consistently grow high quality, high THC, innovative strains, innovative genetics. They may not necessarily have the branded excellence or the presence in the market, but they can supply that excellent quality flower. And then you see other companies that have really mastered creating the brand. And that's something that we're very proud of in the brand that we've created with Divi. And not necessarily do you need to be vertically integrated to ensure that you're not only growing your own flower, but that you are doing the entire process. So I think you're going to start to see a transition on where companies focus and that they own certain strengths within the portfolio as we start to see consolidation in the Canadian industry.
Wonderful. Tricia, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. We're running slightly over time, even though I'm sure there's a lot more that we could break down and discuss with you. We hope to have you back on again soon. Tricia Symmes, CEO of Aleafia Health, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Aaron.
Great discussion with Tricia Symmes, the CEO of Aleafia Health. We are running a couple minutes over, so we're going to move directly into our next presentation with our next company and bring on David Stybr, the CEO of the Livento Group.
Hi.
David, thank you for joining us. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well. Thank you. How are you?
Doing great. It's great to have you here. Hopefully the morning is going well so far. Give us a little overview of Livento Group. It's your first time here on All Access, joining us with our live audience of retail investors and traders. Give us a little context about the business and what Livento is all about.
Yeah, so Livento Group is a holding company listed now on OTC market in States. So what we are doing, we have now one of our main let's say division is a Boxo production, which is making movies with Hollywood teams and Hollywood stars, and we are mainly focused now on this particular, let's say, branch and division of Livento. We have as well portfolio system that is used by some family offices and asset managers called LEC, which is what Livento started originally with a few years ago. And then we prepared as well one project that will be separately listed in Europe, which is focused on logistic and technological environment, let's say. So this is something that we have in Livento, which is company now having around 12 employees in States. I'm based in Europe, and we are mainly focused on Boxo, which will help us to bring the company to NASDAQ.
Amazing. Okay, so you mentioned bringing the company to the NASDAQ. I want to talk about that. Bring us through some detail about why that's going to be so important, but also anything else exciting going on for the Livento Group. Give us a couple of things that are really significant on your horizon right now.
Yeah, sure. So the main topic in Boxo is that we have very direct access to the right, let's say, intellectual properties, I would call it, which means to scripts, to books, to even newspaper articles, which our team is reviewing and buying. They are coming to us from agencies in Hollywood, even from the biggest one like CIA, and we are just selecting them and choosing the right ones, which we are then partnering with some top-known directors, and we are trying to bring the best script writers, which usually accept, to create a full script, and we are building a package of a movie. And the main advantage is that this package, to create this package is very good because it brings us the opportunity to lock as well in very initial stage a distributor, which is doing usually pre-sale of the movie, which is helping to again secure the needed funding to produce the movie and to make them the actual filming, which is costly. And we have then from the movies, which are usually are successful, they have all box office revenues over $50 million. So through our revenue and profit sharing, we are getting to 5 to 15 million, let's say, revenue from each of these movies. And this is one of the main reasons how we want to get a company to NASDAQ, because now in the next 2 years, we are able to increase the revenues very significantly through this deal that we prepared for Livento, let's say, and through our team.
Amazing. Okay, now, David, we have your deck pulled up too. I want to walk through this really quickly. Give us any of the highlight slides in here that you want to cover and walk us through so we can get a better understanding of the business model.
Yeah, sure. So we can maybe go to, I think it's like number 3, competition advantage. Yeah. So this is what I spoke about. So I would say really the unique selling proposition, which is the number 4 on the slide, where we exactly know when we do the package who is doing it, why, who is the actor starring in it, and where the movie will be, let's say, sold, which cinemas will take it over. And this is really something that not most of, let's say, any other production companies can say, because usually we don't need to look how to finance the movie, right? We just need to choose the right content which is coming to us and produce it in the right timing. Yeah, we can then go to some maybe to few more slides just to show what we did in the past. Here is just quickly business features I just explained. So it means secure revenue. We even can call it this way because most of our revenues are already secured when we choose the topic to work on. Then definitely diversification, because through this model we are able to start one project every month. Yeah, so we are getting to a position when in let's say 18 months of work we will have 18 projects that we are working on, which is getting big diversification. So even through there is some delay in one of the movies, okay, there are others coming through. And percentage from revenues, the last point, it's very, very important, because if the movie is really successful, can bring very top notch to our, let's say, revenue pocket.
Outstanding. Okay, so I'm looking at a couple of headlines here on Benzinga Pro, actually, to look at the company. I'm looking at a headline about Livento taking a lead in providing environmental technology with the Eurodot project. I want to talk a little bit about the Eurodot project. It's something we got a couple of questions on leading into this conference, actually. Give us some context about that and why it's so important.
Yeah, sure. So Eurodot project is already being prepared, let's say, for last 1.5 years. It's a holding that is that currently there are 2 companies that will join the holding from the beginning, focus on technology, environment in logistics. Yeah, so it means there are companies that are focused on Green Deal, that have long trucks, some long haul trucks, and they need to grow, right? So they approached us how they can secure the future, how they could grow. So we prepared a project how to put them on a stock exchange, offer them to investors, and boost the value. So the main point from the big numbers is that these companies have now revenues around $15 million, which are first 2 companies, and their combined value is reaching 25 million. And in the next 6 to 10 months, once the holding is listed on one of the main European stock exchanges, so we will put there another 2 companies that are ready, and the total value of it will be $70 million. This combines revenues above $40 million. And Livento holds 15 to 18% share in this holding. So this is one of big values that we are adding to Livento shareholders, where there is no need to invest anything from Livento to this holding, but we are getting this holding based on the work that me and my team provided in the last 1.5 years.
Got it. Okay, very exciting. And also, you guys have not only this stuff and everything that you're working on with current projects going on, but a lot of other exciting things that you don't hear too much about. You've got relationships with Peter Jackal, Ara Kashishian, Martin Barab, some of these larger celebrities in some of these films and everything else. How did some of these relationships start, and how do you continue to develop these relationships as the company goes along?
Yeah, as you can hear, I'm not American native, so I live in Europe. And Peter Jackal is as well living in Europe. In fact, he's in the same country, Czech Republic, in Prague, where he's originally from. And yeah, we were looking for a business that could trigger the revenues, that could help. And I met Peter by some kind of coincidence, as it usually can be. And we spoke about it a lot. He told me what he's preparing, what he's doing, how this system, how let's say this business works. And we found out this business model working. We adapted it to what I believed that is the best way for let's say the stock exchange to accept it, and as well to boost as much the revenues as possible in the near future. So it means not to make big movies with own equity, but to focus on these development packages where it's much more, let's say, diversified, and it's securing the revenues for the future. So this is how it started. And Peter is very long time working with Ara and Martin. They know each other, so I'm visiting them in LA kind of regularly. It's great guys to have in the team.
Got it. Now, when you look at your market specifically the last couple of years, do you feel like COVID has been not necessarily a catalyst, but has it increased your market size for your opportunity to go out there and attract a market of viewers and consumers? Do you feel like COVID has been kind of an opening and an opportunity in that sense for the company?
Definitely. I would say that it is one of the reasons why we choose even this business model, right? Because exactly the online streamers generally, any of the names that are now on the table and we have them in our TVs, it's requiring more content. Yeah, and it's even now after COVID coming back with cinemas, right? Where during the COVID most of it was shut down, but now it's again coming back. And on top of it, COVID increased the demand because of the online streamers that need the content. So definitely COVID supported what we do and supported the decision to use this business model we are currently using.
Understood. Okay, so what have you learned from the IPO market? We talked about Eurodot just a second ago, but what have you learned from the IPO market recently? The IPO market itself, what does it look like right now? And obviously, we've had some difficult market conditions in the last year. I think it's certainly an understatement in many ways. Mm-hmm. What do you think the IPO market looks like as we've had some bumps and bruises in the market? We've had some downturns. How do you feel like the IPO market is going to continue to grow over the rest of this year and into next year?
I believe in this market generally, and I see it on other companies like ours. It's not always depending on the total market, on some big, let's say, market makers or on top companies in Dow Jones Index. It's always about the project, if it's interesting, and because we speak to, let's say, investment bankers, I would call it, so main let's say, main people with money that are then supporting these IPOs. They still have the appetite. They still believe the projects can grow. They're just looking for the right type of the company they would put the money in. I believe that there are money out there. It's just much harder to deliver the right project that they would be more likely to finance. This is how I see it.
Got it. Okay, now you guys have a very interesting, it's a very vibrant business model. Can you talk a little bit about the culture at the company at Livento? What are some of the executives and the team members kind of come together in terms of culture to make the company go forward? And how would you describe the team as a whole and how it helps the business grow?
Definitely, we started as a small company, let's say a few years ago. From the time we moved up, I believe that our team, I would describe like everybody needs to work, and we are all, let's say, seniors in our roles. You know, we are not big enough to have juniors, so everybody in the company is usually hired with clear vision, with clear strategy, what he needs to do, and it's senior enough to reach the targets. And this is a system that I'm applying and that I like, and that the people need to follow, because it's bringing the maximum, let's say, performance and effectivity in everything we do. So you will find within the company experienced professionals. We recently hired 2 new people in US, in New York, Miami, LA. We have bases everywhere. So we're spreading it out, and everybody can, let's say, bring some ideas on the table, and we are just trying to find out what's the best way forward in the current situations of the market.
Got it. Okay, a bit of an off-the-wall question here, right? But again, like I said, you're in a very interesting, very vibrant industry. What are a couple of pieces of advice that you might give to somebody getting started in your industry? If you're looking at, the future of your sector heading down the road over the next few years, where do you see that going? And what would you give in terms of advice to somebody who's just getting started in your industry and what they should plan ahead for over the next couple of years here?
This is always very interesting and not so easy questions to answer. Why we did it, why we did this, and what I see in the markets, and maybe you see it within the NASDAQ generally and all these IT companies and technology, which is always somewhere around. I believe it's a focus on revenues and on your customer. One of the reasons why Boxo is for me, even personally, and for the team so important and can be the driver to NASDAQ is that we don't need to search for customer, right? We don't need to, we found it, right? We found a customer, we know where are the revenues. The only thing we need to do is to find the right content, the right projects, prepare them, and package them. Yeah, so I would always say, because I was working as well 6 years for a venture company before I did Livento, so you see a lot of projects out there, a lot of good companies, a lot of very skilled people with a great track record. But mainly what we always found out, if they don't know who is the customer and how to get to him I would say easily, or how to approach it, it's always an issue. So you need to focus on who is giving you the revenue, who is giving you the money, how you will find him.
Amazing. Okay, so any things that you would want to point out to investors now specifically, right? We're here with the retail investor audience, individual investors. What would you want to point out about Livento specifically over Q4 for the rest of this year? But if we're looking at 2023 as well, big growth plans, big milestones that you're looking to achieve, what should investors have their eye on?
Yeah, definitely what I would point out, as we discuss, is Boxer production, the coming to realization phase, and our big potential in revenues. And not only potential, but the revenues that will start coming in, that will move the company towards NASDAQ. Yeah, because we know what are our limitations right now. We're working on the legal stuff, so we are now finalizing some steps with SEC. We are moving the company forward. And next year, I believe not believe, but we see that this will end this year. And through initial quarters in the next year, we will get the revenues to Boxo and to Livento on the level we need them to get to NASDAQ. So this is what the retail investors can be looking for. because with this we can really make the change.
Outstanding. Like I said, obviously a lot of exciting things coming up for you guys. And even in just a short amount of time, we've gotten a lot of context about Livento and what you guys are doing. Obviously, we're hoping we have you back soon to hear more about some of the milestones you guys are going to go after and some of the things you guys are going to do in Q4. But David Stybr, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for the time to be and the possibility to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. David Stybr, CEO of the Livento Group, joining us there. We do have a bit of a gap here before we bring on our next company at 11:40. Nancy Lurker, the CEO of EyePoint Pharmaceuticals, is going to be joining us. But in the meantime, we do have a bit of a gap before we get rolling into that next company. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at the markets. We're going to go ahead and do a news headline check. I'm not sure if Mitch is going to be joining us or anyone from the live trading crew is going to be jumping on here for a gap. So we're going to trade this over to that for a little while here. And then we're going to move ahead into that next company. And Mitch, you are here. Thanks for joining.
Always here for the team. Now we'll definitely go into a little bit of live trading action. So I also got Ryan Faluna in the house. So excited to get on into some action. We'll get you guys on over to the next company. We got a little bit of excitement into the market today. PCE hitting, and it looks like we're getting a little bit of a rally here. Let's see how much it can hold. SPY coming back up right now. It's at 363. Even though we went down towards that 360.87 level, we bounced right off of that. And a lot of this, I'm looking at Apple starting to get a little bit of a bounce. We'll see if it can actually hold. And we'll take a look into the market and see if we can actually get into the green today. You see the red light in the background. It was green earlier today until that PCE number hit. All right, let's go ahead. Let's share our screens and take a look at the trading action on out there. Anything you want to talk about, Ryan? You can go ahead.
Well, I'm just kind of watching right now. We did have OIIM make a huge move here. It's kind of come back under 4. Be very careful with this one. It's thin and it jumps around quite a bit. We've still been a little light here on the relative volume scanner. ARVL not really working out. We did have ATXI, I believe, just on here a second ago. Rocketing here, so there's a couple of things going on, but like you said, Mitch, one of the big things that I'm going to be watching is this rally. Are we able to hold it? Do we give it all back like yesterday? How's this going to end up playing out on this Friday here? By the way, AVYA, another one here, moving today. We've traded this one quite a bit on this program.
All right, now keeping an eye on, I did get into Generac right here. I got entry at 177.20s right off the VWAP. So looking at Generac for a move back up towards 179. So just got off there on the VWAP. The spread is a little wide on this one. So, just keep that always in mind. When you're dealing with the spread, you will want to be probably sizing down to get you out of kind of immediate danger, right? We're going to look to see if it can go back above 179, but Apple was looking really strong. I was thinking about taking that. It was coming back there. SPY is battling to try to hold above the VWAP. Technology is actually leading today, but now basic materials has taken over. And a lot of this coming from lumber wood production, getting a big spike today. WFG is one you can watch in there. EVA, another one. Steel having a really good day. Look at NUE taking off there. Nice little push on up. X, Cleveland Cliff, some of these that you guys can keep on watch. Steel Dynamics, not looking too bad. Also, we see silver up. So that shows me that the dollar is probably down. And an easy way that I can do that is just look at the UDN. And you can see that the dollar probably is heading on its way down right now. And silver has been a great trade if you're looking for the dollar to come down here. As you see PAAS hold the gains that it's had in the last couple of days, trying to push through the 1580s. We'll see if that can hold on the day. Energy, not having a bad day either. So XOM, you guys can look at that, starting to recover after coming back down in the pre-market. It was actually up in the pre-market, but it came down right towards the open. Now getting a little bit of a spike. Look at Oxy catching a little bit. Chevron. So not a bad day there for some oil plays as they're catching a little bit of a bounce here. All right, let's catching up with the chat. I want to go ahead and I got to pull you guys up so I can see what you guys are talking about out there. What's on your radar? Mitch, who's your Taylor? That would be Express.
Express, Mitch.
That would be good. Express. Unfortunately, we're not Gochi and Dabana, some fancy names here, but we're working our way. I brought the suit on because I was feeling a little bit like money today. I was feeling the bullish vibes.
Mitch,
At
it's not
least
the name on the suit, my man. It's how you wear it. You're already
that is
getting
true.
compliments. You're good to go. You're good to
Hey,
go.
that's what it's all about. You got to be able to clean up. I always say that if you can't look good in a suit, I don't know about you, man. I don't know about you.
Mitch throwing daggers early here this morning.
Oh,
How's
it's the
that?
truth. I mean, you got to be able to clean up, right? I mean, that's a must. But definitely seeing the movement on out there. Generac getting into the green here for me, not looking too bad. Let's see if it takes out the 179. That's what I want to see it get through so that I can take some profits into the 180s. And then we can just start seeing if Generac wants to take off. Of course, this is a hurricane play. So the reason I'm going forward again is because, of course, some strengthening coming back towards the hurricane. So another mention that you're going to see a lot of kind of warnings for the Carolinas. Of course, I'm in the Carolinas, but at least further inland. So I'm not really stressing, but trying to make a little bit of cash here on the Generac trade.
Your internet seems fine.
Yeah, it was horrible yesterday. It actually even went out in the nighttime, and there was like an outage reported. So it looks like they got out there and they fixed the internet. So hey, at least Spectrum made moves and was able to fix the internet. Looks like they got out there.
We've got, as far as setups here, we have NVTA kind of curling back up here. We have a high of 251. It's currently at 250. So we can see if NVTA gets some juice. Probably needs a little bit more volume. Same is true with ALLK here. Let me, Mitch, can you throw my screen up real quick?
Yeah, I got you, dude.
ALLK, we are possibly moving through a six handle here. This too, I would like to see some more volume to really kind of ride this and see if we have more of a trade up here, but definitely some stuff setting up here. Just kind of watching relative volume scanner and see if there's anything that we're going to be able to capture here that's somewhat predictable. EQT looks like this might go through 40 on EQT.
Looking around, if you guys got tickers you guys wanted to take a look at, definitely throw them up in the chat. I'll go ahead and catch it. Now, like always, guys, do us a favor. Hit those likes. Let's get these likes on up here. We got about 46 likes. Let's see if we can get it to 75. That's going to be my goal for the stream, at least for our timing here. So do us a favor, guys. If you guys enjoy us taking the time and coming in here with some live action, hit that like button and let's keep it going.
Where's our live trading crew at to back us up?
Right. Let's get it going here. All right. Taking a look at Apple here as it's battling here, trying to make a move above, but a lot of this is going to be dependent on the SPY. Can we get back above the 363 level? That's what I'm watching right now. We've been battling. We had those wicks. You know what I've been saying about those wicks?
Wicks are tricks. Wicks
That's
are
what
tricks.
it is. And tricks are for kids, right?
And tricks are for kids. I've known that for years.
All right, so just be careful on out there. Now we're going to see does it close a 5-minute candle above that 363. A lot of rejection when you get above that 363.16. Now let's see if we can actually get a body to close up there. That would give us the lift in Apple. And also look at Tesla. Tesla is pretty strong today, just bounced off the VWAP. Let's see if it takes out the 270 on the upside, going towards the 272. That'd be a good look for the overall market. Let's take a look at the leadership today. Leadership, always important, was horribly in the red yesterday. Now, Apple's the only one, and Amazon in the red. Amazon's still in the red a little bit. But Microsoft into the green, Google into the green, Tesla into the green, UNH into the green. So let's see if some of these can get some bounce here.
You know, Mitch, speaking of into the green, take a look at Micron. Pull up Micron there for me. Of course, Micron reported earnings.
All right, I got you.
Great. Micron reported earnings. They weren't great. However, what's encouraging here is we're still green on the day, right? So we had the initial reaction, which we were able to buy back up in the after-hour session. We were higher in the pre-market, and we're bouncing off of the little bit of leaking that we did here towards the end of the pre-market. One of the other things I noticed is that we had a whole slew of readjustments here. Deutsche Bank, Piper Sandler, Morgan Stanley, BMO actually maintained their outperform, but still lowered the price target. So it looks like what we're getting here are a whole bunch of price target adjustments after a poor earnings report. And the stock itself is not acting terribly today. It's actually still trading pretty well. We're up almost 1.5% here. So interesting dynamic to watch here. That's generally what we see when we get towards, bottoms. And I don't want to necessarily say that the entire market has bottomed, but perhaps some of the bad news here in Micron is baked into the current price.
We'll see what happens there in Micron. I mean, I think that they definitely tried to lower the bar. The only thing that I'd point to in their earnings that were a little bit scary were their Q1 outlooks for next year. That was pretty bad there. Their EPS guided down to 0.4 cents or 10 up to 10 cents versus a 64-cent estimate. That's as bad as it gets, I think. So just be careful there. At least the forward outlook doesn't look that great either. But they did get a subsidy from Japan's industry.
Yeah, I saw that.
So, I mean, there's like, it's kind of conflicting news there, right? You're getting some negatives, some positives, some negatives, some positive. It's more about what takes control.
By the way, we've got EDSA here flirting with its VWAP. I got a VWAP of 163, and I have an intraday high today of 165. So if we can clear that area out, that's EDSA. Also looking at Stybr here. Stybr really ripping here. Volume starting to pick up. We just moved through 258. I was a little late on that because of EDSA, unfortunately, but 279 was your high from yesterday. Looks like that's going to be in play here. Seeing some big prints on the level 2, biggest volume stick of the day here in Stybr. I'm not in it right now. Actually feels like I'm chasing right here, but a nice little break above 258. We're still getting some action here. Still getting some trade.
Order out on Generac to close some profit into 178.95. It just got there on the offer. Wasn't getting filled yet. I'll let you guys know if I do get some fill there on Generac. It's one of those days we're going to see some action, and I feel like, you know, it's time to get the trading shoes going here and see what we can get. Now the SPY trying to hold the VWAP. That's what we want to see it hold, but bounce back up if you're in the bullish tune today. Hold that VWAP, a couple of wicks underneath. Don't worry about the wicks. Look at those bodies. The bodies are holding above the VWAP right now. Let's see if we can get that push back towards the 363.16. And Apple, can it take lead? Can it hold the VWAP, get back up above, going towards 142.50? Tesla, trying to hold on. We talked about the VWAP bounce it just had. We'll take out the 272 level. Let's find out. Rivian having a really great day. Just to kind of point one out that's having a better day than even Tesla. Look at Rivian, up almost 3%.
As Jay Rice was saying regarding Generac, which you were just talking about, Cohen initiated coverage today with an outperform rating and a 229 price target. Nice. We're currently at right about 180. So that's hit some profit movement there.
Just hit some profit there as it breaks through there. Generac not looking too bad there. Now we're up towards 179.57. Original entry, it's closer towards 177.20 now with the average. Let's see if we can keep it going here towards the 180. 180, I'll take another little piece off and leave a small little piece to see if we get an expansion from that 180.
And BTU, Jay Rice, on top of that, man, BTU definitely sold off to 24 here. We're a point higher now. Looks like it's actually trying to break out from yesterday and the previous day's intraday highs here on BTU. This has been really, really strong. Next level here on BTU, if we continue, looks like 27 to me. Maybe we get a little bit of pause there at 26.
Order out to cover some at 179.90s. Let's see if we can get a little bit of a push, get that fill there, and then I'll look to see if it gets that expansion above the 180s. Could run into the 179s right here, but trying to see if it can actually hold the trend line now. So pullbacks to 178.50 should be holding and looking for the 180 expansion up.
ALK busting up against that 6 handle again. This might pop if we can clear this out. Still could use some more volume here on ALK. What's going on, Jesse? Good to see you this morning. Easy Mike, Crypto, Taurus. Hope you all are doing well. Nice trade on that BTU trade, Jay. You were all over that. Definitely hit that dip buy. You've been on BTU for a few months now.
Yeah, nice. BTU is a really nice one there. It's had a 4-day run, and I've talked about coal multiple times. We need to keep watching how coal performs. It's been really starting to take off. The reason why this is taking off is because the outlook that Europe is going to be burning coal this winter to keep the furnaces alive, not natural gas, because they don't got any natural gas. They're going to have to go to the ugly burn of coal, right? I know that our, ESG and our cultural environmentalists out there are going to be really upset, but they need to keep the furnaces on. So a lot of the ways they're going to do that is burning coal.
And all the coal, I believe, is sold out for next year as well.
Yeah.
if I
And
recall
so
correctly. By the way, Stybr here popped, went right to 275. So 3 cents below the, not yesterday, but the previous day. That would be Wednesday, right? That 3 cents below Wednesday's high. Got to think that it challenges this spot here again on Stybr.
ooh, just turned around there on Generac, went towards that 178. It's still holding that kind of that 50 mark there. Let's see if we can get back above the trend line. At least we've taken some profits from here on out. No matter what, I wouldn't lose on Generac. I'd probably break even out, and that's what matters for me now. It's just trying to let it work. Basic materials continuing to lead. So lumber still having a good day. Silver still having a great day. Now 2.6. That PAAS, remember I mentioned it? It was at 1570s, already almost to the 16 from where I called that out. And the big part about this is not necessarily that you guys needed to be trading PAAS, but more along looking at what's rotationary moves, right? What is doing really well. Those are the areas that I want to be in. I want to be in the areas that are making moves and not making moves a week from now. What's making moves today? And then that can be a way that we can catch the rotation. And of course, what we're always looking for, at least what I look for, is relative strength.
Kano, maybe an opportunity if it trades through 9 again. Coinbase strong here today with this Bitcoin rally.
Flooded generators. Yeah.
ALLK took that 6 level. No expanded volume here yet, so we didn't get the pop that we're hoping for. But now that the 6 levels cleared out, maybe it'll be stronger the next time it rolls through it. Currently down at 597 right now. I have no position in this. Don't have enough volume to trigger the entry yet. Market rolling over here too.
Yeah, that's where it starts dragging us, right? So the market tried to make that move up and rejected the move. And on the 5 minute, what did we get above the 363? Wicks. So now we need to see what's going to happen between the 360.87, 363.16 on the high side. Why is it the 360.87 on the low side? That's Tuesday's lows, not Thursday's lows. Thursday, we got a little bit lower than that. We'll see what happens here. SPY dragging really fast. You got to be careful on some of the trades out there.
Yeah, and
just eye on Generac.
And I'm taking a look here. The Carnival just getting absolutely demolished. Looks like
when did they hit their earnings, man? They kept that earnings till late. When did they hit the tape?
This morning.
Yeah, what time though?
No, I have our news here printed at 9:16. PR was 9:15. We have the conference call going on right now.
That should not even be allowed, man. That should be illegal, yeah. How many companies come out at 9:15, Ryan?
Not many.
Not that many. I don't think that should be allowed. They're playing games with investors out there. I definitely think that shouldn't be allowed.
It's not a fun game because it's getting smoked here this morning.
Yeah,
I mean 7:35. It's just pounding the lows here at Carnival.
If you were an investor, you're waiting literally 15 minutes before the market open, and you're going to give me that type of information. Not what I would want to be hearing from.
No.
So I don't know who runs the IR at
Carnival, one of the things, Mitch, that we've been saying,
people.
One of the things that we've been saying here on our show is the boats are a tough trade right now, right? Don't trust the boats. And sure enough, we're being shown that was exactly right. These are still struggling. This stock's getting creamed right now.
Another big thing on this is
below the COVID low, by the way.
RCII news that came in, right? Showing us more and more that recessionary worries are what you need to be worrying about, right? And so we got today Rent-A-Center numbers that were really bad. So this is just showing me more and more. Look for companies. Do they have recession worries? Are you going to worry about this company in this business if we go into a recession? And those are the companies probably that are getting hit hard, especially even today.
And I mean, pretty much any company that's going to be exposed to the consumer is likely to get hit hard, excuse me, in an environment like this. So rough stuff out there.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to roll over here too.
Home Depot, how's the Home Depot trade doing there? Is it bouncing back today? I know it was coming down earlier. Yeah, it's still fighting. Generac looking a little bit better, at least, but maybe that's just because I'm in it. But we'll see. I'm still looking to get my second profit out. Just took 50% off there on that first push. Now let's see if we can actually get that push through the 179.50 going towards the 180. At least this is holding well relative to the market. Market is right in the middle right now, trying to determine, am I going to test back towards the upside or do I test to the downside? Be careful.
And James is saying we're already in a recession, a global one. Yes, I agree. Sorry if I didn't make that clear. I completely agree.
I mean, that's still, like always, one of the things is how are recessions really considered. At the end of the day, it's a board that's going to determine if we're in a recession. Is that the right way? I mean, that's just left up to discussion, let's say. Pinky on up, get your orange juice in. I need to get my sponsorship from Simply already, but
yeah, I'm surprised you don't have one already.
Right? I drink them every day. I would bring their little bottle and everything. I'd be like, Simply juice, you guys.
Fresh squeezed orange juice every morning. Once you do that, man, you'll never go back.
Yeah, I agree with that. I used to get that a lot in Miami, but
I just buy a bag of oranges from Costco and call it a day.
Yeah, man. It's nice, especially from Costco. You're probably getting those things cheap.
Yep.
Especially
like
the way that orange
$7 a
juice
bag.
price has been just taken off, right? Taking a look at Generac.
Ripping to highs here.
We're holding that resistance. That's a little worrisome for me. So in the next 5 minutes, I want to see that nice push above the 179.50s. If not, we'll probably come back towards the VWAP. I don't want to be a part of that. So I'm just quickly watch to see if we can get that push, take that profit, and just keep going with some base hits. Trying to battle here, guys. Not having a bad day. This is my first trade on the day. This is Generac, so I didn't take too many trades earlier. BTU would probably be the one that I would have taken earlier for the VWAP bounce. I liked how it held the 24, recovered, went back above the 24.40s. And then when it came back here on this 30, where it came to 24.22s, 24.23 VWAP hold right there, and then just shot off. Not a bad move there in coal. Steel continuing also. Take a look at that steel trade. Now NUE coming back towards the VWAP. We'll see if that can catch a bounce there. Energy, what's up with the oil names? Those are starting to come back towards the VWAP. Be careful there.
Jay Rice says, love it or not, BTC hanging tough. I do love it. I do love it. That'd be great. I've been mining quite a bit too.
I love it, Hex. Simply OJ. The guaranteed squeeze of the day.
There you go. See, Mitch, you're getting all of it already. You're ready to go.
I like you guys.
Fired up. Wire that puppy up. Let's go.
Did you notice that some OJ brands didn't have concentrate in them now and have concentrate in them? Yeah. That's why I try to get my Simply OJ, right? No concentrate in there. We don't need no concentrate. I'm already concentrating enough just trying to trade. All right, let's get this going. Let's see what Generac can do for me. Charge me, literally, charge. Let's get it. 79.20. I'm going to cancel my order and put it right back out. Sometimes I do this, so where I'll cancel the order as the price action is right in kind of in between stage, because I don't want to be having my orders out there and just showing kind of more selling pressure at the top, right? So what I'll do is I'll cancel it, and as the action goes up, I'm going to look to put it back out. Probably cut it a little bit shorter than what I did last time. I had 95s. We're going to go for 79.90 here. All right.
Watching NCLH trading down too. So Royal Caribbean, Carnival, and Norwegian all pounding lows here. No bottom in sight.
All right. So when I go for this Generac, I'm going to go for the full sale. I normally would keep a little bit of a piece, maybe for a little bit of a mover, but the way that the markets has been lately, base hits is what I'm looking for.
Take your profits, Mitch. We've been saying it all week when stuff is like
Yeah,
this.
well,
Don't be
when
afraid to
you
take them.
when you try to take too much continuation, it's just been tough. It's battling right now. I'm looking for that nice push. If not, I'll probably come back to VWAP, and I don't want to be a part of that. There's a little pullback to 178 really quickly. So looking for that 178 here to hold. If it cuts through, we might have to just get out because it's probably going to come back right towards our entry. Looking at it closely here. Apple, what's going on with Apple? I've just been focusing on Apple today
It's
because if
hanging in
Apple
there.
just rips, it's hanging. That's a good sign. Good sign for you bulls out there. SPY doing what? Hanging. And look at these wicks. Look how much wicks you're getting right here. This is very important to catch because these wicks, they're just trying to create pressure on what? Both sides of the tape. That's what I've been seeing lately. Pressures on both sides. Pressures on the bulls. Pressures on the bears. And then usually what happens, we get stopped out in the volatility, and then the trend goes and makes its move. Let's see if we get that.
ALLK went through 6 again. We've got the biggest volume stick of the day here, currently at 605. Next spot going to be 648 if we can get there. I'm not in it. I'd actually like this to come back in a couple of cents and grab it here. As long as it holds 6, but looking good here. A little bit of a seller at 605, 648 next spot. If this volume keeps up, we're probably in good shape.
SPY trying to make that move. Let's see if we get it. Generac trying to get up there to the 179. ALLK, I have it on the left here for you. So you guys want to keep talking about that one. We still got that one up also. And if you guys see a big mover, feel free to throw it up in the chat. I'll make sure to catch it. Oh, the Florida Natural, now made with concentrate since inflation started. Oh, that's not good. That's not good. Come on, Florida Natural. You can't be called natural and you're giving them concentrate. Bollinger Band, 5-minute chart curling in, more up or downside momentum. Apple. I see you using those Bollinger Bands, checking out the volatility out there. Meta is a stock we're looking to go long, says Easy Mike. Well, we'll take a look at Meta. Here's a nice little push there. Let's put out that order now. Oh, just hit it there. Actually, I just made a little bit of a error there, and I admit to my mistakes there, guys. So I had my order filled out, and for some reason, it looks like when I was changing through the stocks, because you guys saw me going through so many here, I went up and I changed the limit, so I just hit there on the bid on Generac. So I got out, but wasn't what I was wanting to do. I was wanting to put this 179.90 mark there. But I mean, hey, am I going to be upset? No, I just took more profit than I originally took from that first half. So I'm all out of the trade on Generac. Got out there. The fill was around, we got 179.30s there. So definitely a little bit off from where I wanted to take it, but you can't be mad about that. That's like up here. And the first sale was at 178.95. So it was on this first move up to 179. Not a bad little sell there on Generac. Little base hit, but that gives me a nice little cushion on the day to go ahead and try to attack another trade. Let's go towards Apple here, as I've been battling to see what's going to go on in the overall market. We just did another wick through that 363. So look how all the bodies a lot of the times don't give you that outlook that it's as volatile, right? If you stick with just the body, it's kind of just been going sideways here towards the VWAP on the SPY here. And you can see here how every time we get above this 363, we're getting wicks. Now we've had one, up one, down one, up two, down two, up three, down three. That should have been the breakout. So I don't think that if we break through the lows, we're going to be able to hold. We'll see what happens here, though, as the SPY has been trying to battle its way back up. ALLK still going.
Yeah, ALK is still going. I'm watching 2 other stocks too. We got FNGR and ATXI. Now, ATXI is curling here, looking like it's trying to make a move towards that VWAP, which we have at 916, currently at 912. So this looks like this is trying to curl. I would imagine if we can go through the VWAP and hold it, perhaps 10 is back on deck. And something's going on in FNGR here. I can't quite figure it out yet. But there's huge volume and there's been a huge move here. I saw some gigantic bids come in and get pulled. So I'm still trying to figure out if that's, you know, a buyer trying to inflate it, to someone trying to cover a short here. If it's someone trying to cover a short here, this thing could squeeze like your orange juice, Mitch.
Ooh, don't get me excited.
280 of a potential spot for that if it really gets going. The volume sticks are incredible. We're on the relative volume scanner here. So just kind of watching this. Don't have this one figured out yet, though.
I'm looking at UNG here. I saw someone mention LNG, but I was looking at UNG here. It's looking interesting for the VWAP hold, trying to get back up through the 2375. But the only outlook there that's keeping me is I would need to hold probably towards the 24 mark. The risk would be there. What? I'm risking 15 cents, 10 cents there for a 15-cent gain, at least for the first resistance. Usually doesn't make sense in my book unless I would be actually holding it towards the 24 outlook. And that's the top of the range. So it doesn't seem bad because it has been in this tight range, the UNG, and kind of a downward trend. But if it can pop out of it, it wouldn't look bad. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep it on my radar. If UNG can close above 24 today, it'll be back into the bullish tune. And I'll wait to that moment versus trying to call the bottom on UNG.
Dan is asking, hey guys, what do you think of Uvxy? I don't think very highly of it for a couple of reasons. It's definitely a decent trading vehicle for short-term intraday trades. But I mean, if you take a long-term look at this chart, it's constantly decaying. So never worth a hold in my opinion. And when it comes to the VIX, I've tried to play the VIX in down markets before, or in markets that were extremely choppy. I've ended up donating quite a bit of money to the VIX fund. So I generally stay away from these. I would say in terms of looking at this on a day where the volatility is kind of all over the place, these are acceptable trading vehicles. Just remember to keep it a very, very short time frame. I generally stay away from these.
Apple trying here, SPY trying. Let's see if we can get it.
Acting pretty resilient considering what's happening.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking for kind of these bigger caps that are by the VWAP versus like at the high like Apple is. So like I can see the SPY take off, Apple take off. Maybe I can find something that's lagging a little bit like Microsoft, right? So you see this lag and you got a really nice risk spot right underneath it. That's always what matters a lot of the time. So with the SPY doing this, I'll take a shot on Microsoft. Let's take it right. Let's see if I can get a little bit of a pullback. All right, just got in there. So we got 2365 here. The risk for me is going to be 238.21. So the big thing is the SPY getting a little push here on the right-hand side. That's why I'm going to do it. So what I want to see is on the 5-minute, it close above 363.16 to give me confirmation that I kind of picked good timing. A lot of the times that's what I'm using the SPY. Did I confirm a good timing spot with the SPY breaking out, overall market breaking out, and then a laggard like Microsoft today? Good level to go off right underneath it. So I'm willing to take the shot for a move back up.
See here, Del Roma saying CCL rebounding. Yeah, we've bounced about 46 cents, bounced right off 701 I have as the low print. Short-term bounce right here. You know, one of the things I did see while we were looking at that is there were some calls coming in on NCLH near the bottom there. So it looks like people are trying to trade this here for a bounce. I would imagine that's what that call position was. That was the calls that expired today. So clearly they're just playing the rebound there. Again, if you're going to trade these for a bounce, good luck. Just be really careful. I wouldn't be shocked if these rolled back over. Big bid coming in now on CCL here, 745, and they took it to the downside.
All right, now just trying to work this Microsoft position. It's gotten back to the VWAP, and now we want to see it hold VWAP. VWAP is at 238.90s. Let's see it actually start holding 239s. If it holds 239s, my SPY getting a nice little push there, 364.
Too, yeah.
There we go. Now we're starting to get a little bit of a push here in the SPY. That's what we want to see it. Get back towards that hourly range. Above the 365, we're going to start getting into more of a push zone. So let's see if we can get towards there in the next, let's say, 15 minutes. Then maybe we can start finding a trend. Apple also doing really good now. That's a good sign for the market. Remember what dragged us down yesterday? Tesla and Apple. What is pushing up right now?
I'm going to try
Tesla
some
and
Sober
Apple.
here. Small.
Which one?
Sober, SOBR at 280. Stop going to be at 270.
Gotcha.
I did it small. I think we pop here. This might be ready. Volume has been expanding, so we got the entry trigger here on Sober. We were talking about it when it was trading up earlier. We wanted to see that volume expand. We did get that. We moved through 2 key levels here now. I think we could probably go higher. I'm going to give it about 10 cents to the downside to run here.
All right, looking good here in Microsoft. Now we're trying to get through the resistance, the trend line resistance. And I did see someone try to talk about, is this a declining wedge? Is this a bull flag? It isn't going to be the flag, but it could be considered either a pennant or a declining wedge. I would call it more of a declining wedge. And then you also got here how you have a nice clear horizontal support. That can be why you want to maybe call it more of a pennant here. Let's see if it really takes up that next up move here. Going towards 240s is what I'm looking for on Microsoft. If we could get through here, 239.50s is going to hit there. And then I'll be looking for the 240. Somewhere right before the 240s, I'll take half off and then look for the expansion towards the high of the day, which is towards 241. But the SPY is going to need to hold. That's what it's doing well right now. We got about, what, 2 seconds left on this candle. So I don't expect to see it retrace below 363 here on the next 5 minutes. So it's a good outlook here. We're playing the bullish side. Now let's see if we can actually get this nice lift. Nice little 15-minute candle there on Microsoft also. Let's see if it holds 239, the VWAP on pullbacks. SOBR trying to make that next step. But I can see that.
It's back and forth here though. So
yeah, what I can see in that one is that you're getting closer towards the resistance, right? Yep. And so it's okay to kind of understand that you're going to get a little bit of a pullback. I draw a trend line on what you see here, and you really won't want to see a break of 260 after you get above the 260.
And I'm going to be a little bit more conservative than that, Mitch, with my stop here at about 270. Nice. So, yeah, I again, that break there that you're showing, that's if they break the next spot up here, I think that this could pop. I got 285 as the high entry here at 280.
Not a bad one. Let's see what happens in the market if we can continue this lift. It's been trying to get a little bit of a bounce. So SPY back up into the hourly range that will stuck between the 370s and the 363s. Let's see if it holds 363. Next 5 minutes is going to be vital for it to hold there. All right, let's take a quick peek at Apple, see how that's continuing, if it's getting hit towards resistance. It is hitting now a prior support that is going to act as resistance, which is around the 142.80s. Next level is 143.50s from here. Let's see if we can really start getting that drive in Apple, and the market should probably give us that drive also if we can get through there.
Bitcoin highs.
Bitcoin highs. That's a good sign at least for us. So you can be also looking at maybe Mara. Maybe you like Mara.
I do see Riot. I do see Riot on the scanner here.
Look at that, guys. Look at that VWAP bounce. Bam! Really nice little move there.
Really need Sober to bounce here, or I'm going to get stopped out.
Riot doing well. Maybe Hut. Blue 42. Set Hut. Hut.
How you feeling this morning? Speaking of football.
Oh, we ain't gonna get into it. We ain't gonna get into it.
Are we gonna get into me sending you a text telling you ahead of the game that the Bengals were gonna win?
Well, I mean, we're not gonna get into it, Ryan.
Okay. Oh, Mitch.
I mean, injuries can definitely change.
No, and all jokes aside about the final score, I mean, you feel horrible for that. Nobody wants to see that.
It's just because they lost their quarterback. I'll just say it like that. I think we had the game until that moment. I mean, we were driving down. We took 2 field goals. We could have easily made them touchdowns. We had the better moving offense in the first quarter.
Sober hanging in here, not stopping me out. That's good.
SPY trying. It's trying.
Yeah, Steven, it was.
Turned around a little bit there at the 364.61. Looking for Microsoft to really get that nice little push up above the 239.50s. mean, there's not much there right now. I could just run towards the profit tier and it would give me another little bit of cushion, but I'm looking to see if I can get a nice gain here on the day. Microsoft's still trying to battle above that trend line. A lot of it's going to be if we can get another step up in the SPY, not just this expansion. We don't want to see it just come right back towards 363. Then we run into the chop on the day. One thing to notice also too, when did we reverse today? Right around the 9:45. So this is something that we call out often on our live trading stream. So if you haven't checked out our live trading stream before, that's definitely a place to check on out. And one of the things that we call all the time is that turn that we see around the 9:45 to 10 a.m. A lot of this, the retail traders, the day traders getting stopped out on their positions. And then, of course, what happens usually after 10 a.m.? Well, the institutionals can come in, right? A lot of times they're limited on their amount of trading in the first 30 minutes. A lot of institutions won't even allow you to put it in order in the first 30 minutes of the market. So this is why this happens often, is that the bigger traders start taking control of the market past that 10 o'clock time.
Yeah, real quick. Voodoo, good morning, man. Nice to see you again. I took the under for a win, small bets only. I had a parlay that leaned on Tyreek Hill and Jamar Chase getting a touchdown, so I didn't cash yesterday. But I thought Teddy did well too in relief.
Yeah, but he's
I'm
nowhere near.
I'm gonna close out sober here. It's 1 cent above my there. Now I'm stopped out anyway.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's funny. Okay, so out of sober with a loss, 0 for 1 here today. That's okay though. Reduced the size. Knew what was going on. Still watching FNGR here as well.
All right, I got to make my decision on Microsoft here if I'm going to hold towards the 238 risk here. But the SPY, the choppiness is getting me to the point where it's questioning right now. Normally I hold towards the risk there, but we got really close towards the first reward. And a lot of times if I can get close, I try to be break even on the trade. Because one thing is, once you get close to reward, it could have been you being picky on a couple of pennies versus being smart and running towards that profit. But the SPY needs to hold, right? And it can hold right now, let's say 364 on the pullback and not really just start heading back towards 363. I can hang in here because we can still get that next drive. So I'm hanging in there in Microsoft.
Jay Rice saying, seeing a lot of beaten up growth names up big today, and then listed a bunch of them. You know what one is not up big today is Affirm. That was one of the growth names that was really going crazy, but that's to me, I still think that that's going lower here. I wish Jonathan was here to talk about how he's playing that. FNGR looks like it's trying to take out that 235 area.
So ARKK is a good way if you're looking for just a growth style play. That can always be a play that you can look at.
ALLK did a little bit of a pullback from the highs, but we're still holding 6 here. So this actually not bad here, especially if we make a curl back towards those highs. FNGR right. 234 right now. 235 is that high.
FNGR there, guys. That's what he's checking out right now. Definitely, if you guys want to check that on out. I'm going to really quickly run through a sector outlook. Okay. It's 10:42. How are we doing on the like game? You guys smashed that up. Looks like we're at 73 likes. I gave the goal of 75, so I'm excited. We might actually pass the 50%. Let's go, guys. Smash it on up. We're enjoying, if you guys are enjoying the live trading action today, and let's see what is going on in the market right now. Basic materials continuing to lead us from the open. Technology not having a bad day there. A lot of that is due to NVIDIA up about 2.4%. So you can look also for AMD to be lagging a little bit behind that. Nice little trades there today as we're getting some bounce back in semiconductor. Healthcare behind that. That's not looking too bad either. Biotech having a good day today, continuing the drive. Look at Moderna up 3% on the day. ALNY is another one to keep on watch today, up about 2.6. This GRFS, I haven't traded before, but it's a cheaper price name, up about 6.39%. And what kind of biotech news did we get today that would be kind of moving these stocks? Well, it had a lot to do with Amlink's Pharmaceuticals, AMLX. You want to take a look at that. It's down on the day, but did get an FDA approval that caused this massive spike. So we'll see if this can recover on the day. But this is what got a lot of the biotech starting to move. Also with the Biogen news that we've had lately, look at Biogen now starting to take a little bit of some push on up. And BNTX getting some lift. And let's see some of the major drug. They're not doing that great, at least right now. Looks like one of them is not doing that good. AbbVie really getting hit hard. I don't know why, but definitely getting hit.
Seeing a lot of bank calls this morning, which is strange. A lot of JP Morgan, a lot of Citibank, some Bank of America. So that would be something to watch here. Banks higher here this morning.
Yeah, it's a hard call on those banks.
These trades have been tough, man.
Yeah, I think the banks, for me, if I would trade banks, I'd be only renting them, not really buying them.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of a rent. What do we mean by renting them? Means I would be day trading them, just trying to trade maybe the momentum. But other than that, get me the hell out of banks because recession's coming. SPY, what are we doing? We're still hanging out there around the 364. We did click down towards 363.76, but recovered 364 almost immediately. So that's a good sign there. Let's see if we can take that next leg. Microsoft trying to take that next leg. You guys know I've been in this one now for about 15 minutes. Let's see if this can continue going. We really want to see it get back above 239.50s and not see the SPY heading back towards 363. We're just going to have to run towards a small base hit.
Just need that break above there on Microsoft. You're getting it. Come on.
Right? Let's see maybe if I go green light, we can make this happen. Let's do it. Let's do it. We're green light right now on the SPY. Let's get it going. Come on.
I'm really trying to hang in there today. Bitcoin's still really strong as well.
All right, let's take a look at Apple. Apple's a good indicator, right? What happened to Apple? It pushed up, came right back to the trend line. So we don't want to see Apple get towards the VWAP. We want to see it get back towards that 142.80s.
Sober, kind of disappointing here. They flushed me out on that pullback and they brought it right back. We're currently at 76 here, so it looks like I was a little early on that break. This formation's still pretty good though if it can take out this 279, 280 area.
Up one, down one, up two, down two, up three, down three. Shouldn't break that 265 now in my eyes. I always love my rule of three. You guys know how I use it. What I love about the rule of three, a lot of the times, Ryan, is that you would wait for that little spike that you got there at 285.
Bringing in bids on Sober now too, under this.
So I look for a lot of the times that kind of up action, pulling back, up action, pulling back, wait for that third spike. And as soon as I get that third spike, I just tell myself, patience, Mitch, patience. Let's get in on the support here and then look to see if we take out that resistance. That's a lot of the time how I approach that rule of three.
Yeah, Hex Pony, that's a good point there. If BTC was made to combat a market collapse, now is the time to prove it. And I don't know if it's got that in it. It is strong here today, though.
Yeah, the only problem there is that the amount of institutional money that got in it in the last wave. And so that kind of ruined that whole outlook. It's always about where the money is, right? I mean, and that completely got, I think that whole outlook is just gone. SPY pulling back to that 363. So we are not liking this action in Microsoft. And it seems like we're going into the chop zone. So I'm going to go ahead. I'll get out here. Literally for we don't give it to you too often, but $2 loss there on Microsoft. Not going to battle here. One of the things is I wanted to see us really take off. If we're not taking off in this market, I'm not battling. I'm just getting out, repositioning.
Don't stick around.
It doesn't cost me anything to get out, right? If it doesn't cost me commissions, why not get out and look for the reset up? Now that's what I'll look for. I'll look for it to really set up. And the SPY coming back towards that 363 just gets me to the point where I get uncomfortable. I realize in this market, in this environment, if I'm feeling uncomfortable, that means that I should be more risk adverse than pushing the risk. All right, now we'll see if Apple can take that next leg. And if it doesn't, it looks like we'll start breaking down. You see, I came back to VWAP. I wasn't going to hold on to see Apple break down. And then all of a sudden, bam, right back down. So we'll see what happens here. SPY is trying to get up there. Tesla is still holding on at least well. If you're looking at one that is holding on well, I would say Tesla would be that one. Apple isn't doing that. But let's take a look at some other names out there. If you guys got tickers, this is your time before we get on out of here.
Mitch, I have an appointment in 12 minutes here, so I'm going to need to jet pretty soon.
Yeah, no worries. You can get on out of here. I can handle it.
I'm good right now. I'm still
No
good
worries.
right now. Still watching FNGR here. 234. Remember that 235 snap to the upside would be big. And Stybr really hanging in here. Pulled and flushed me out, but it is hanging in here. So watching that too.
Seeing GTII mentioned in the chat. That's not one that I trade often, but yeah, it's looking good here. Had a nice little push above 3. Didn't even get down there today in the pre-market. It was hanging up at 327s, just pushed straight up. So not a bad looking move there in GTII. Global Tech Industries. Never heard of it before. Thank you for bringing it up today, Crypto Taurus.
How's CCL doing on that bounce?
CCL.
740. Okay, so it looks like we went as high on that bounce. Looks like we topped out at 758, and now we're kind of trading sideways here, 740.
Not good, guys. You know what this is doing? It's cutting through the pandemic low.
Yep. Carnival
just cut through it. That's why I've had this line drawn. When did I create this line? I created this line on June 9th, guys. Since then I've been waiting to see what happens with Carnival, if it was ever going to crack that pandemic low. We just cracked it. Not a good sign there for the Carnival Cruise lines. RCL, look at that big red move action on there. NCLH, pow!
FNGR just took 235.
Man, those stocks are getting hit
a
hard.
Wild here. I was also watching Stybr that was setting up at the same time, but let me flip the screens here. So it looks this formation here that we wanted to see cleared out. It did get cleared out. Now we haven't popped and run yet. So we'll see if we end up getting that here, but this looking pretty good. I'd love to see this volume get a little bit higher. I think we definitely go higher if the volume starts to flow in here.
All right, SPY trying, but it's also kind of a little bit choppy here. Let's see if it really takes that step towards 365.
Got to jump real quick. Got to jump.
Yeah. No worries, Ryan. You get on out of here. I'll keep it battling here. Let me take off your screen. Keep it going here, and then we'll be wrapping up in just a few minutes here, guys. But I'll try to keep us going towards that hour. I'll give us to the last minute here. You guys tell us when we got to get off. We'll keep battling. All right, let's take a look at what else is moving the SPY. Trying to get some movement out there. I'm looking at SOXL potentially. Of course, this is the bull semiconductor. Of course, we're also taking a look maybe at NVIDIA. How's that doing? Do we think that it's going to pull back here? It's getting a little bit toppy. So I don't like to usually play the tops, so I'm going to wait for pullbacks here. And it looks like the SPY is a little bit choppy also with the recent 5-minute candle with a nice big wick on the top of it. Just be careful. You could see Tesla come back to VWAP also, especially if the SPY gets back below 363. All right, I'm catching up with the chat out there. What are you guys taking a look at? I see Triple BY. Jay's looking at CCL, Peloton. If you're smart enough to catch bounce, hats off. But the balance sheets on these names are horrible. I agree. I mean, Peloton's news with I didn't even get a chance to mess with Joel today about the Peloton news. They put it in Dick's. So that's like the latest kind of move there. Dick's Sporting Goods is going to be able to have the Peloton in their stores. Maybe that can help them out. But Peloton was getting a little bit of a spike today. We'll see if it can continue going. Definitely not a stock that I'd be trading right now. BTU pulling them back. How did the steel names do? They're kind of holding on right now. Let's take a look at oil. Oil just keeps battling right now, trying to make a move up. Let's take a look at Gush. Gush is holding the VWAP. That's at least a good sign there. Oxy trying to hold the 6150s. Has made a comeback, but I mean, those pullbacks in the early morning hours, those are hard to get around. Apple, what's going on with Apple? It's just hanging out on VWAP. That's not a good sign for me, at least. I would want it to see it at the high part of the range with SPY at the high part of the range, and not what I'm seeing right now. Doesn't mean that it can't go back there, but that's just what I'm seeing at this very moment. All right, let's go towards what's moving on out there, right? So we had healthcare moving well. Let's take a look at Moderna. How's that keep moving here? Looks like we're on the pullback on a lot of stocks. So you got to be careful here. If we don't get this kind of 365 outlook, it could easily be that we start pulling back in the SPY. SPY on the right-hand side here. I'm going to put Tesla here on the left top. Middle top is going to be Apple. Got NVIDIA here on the downside here in the middle. I could take a look at maybe like, let's do a BTU or a steel stock. Let's see if these can get the bounce here. Penn having a really nice day there, guys. That's one I didn't expect to see up, but Penn having a really good day. Definitely coming towards resistance also above it. You're going to run into resistance at 28. Let's see if it can get through that level. Hey, Mitch, the levered ETFs are all below pre-COVID high. Does that mean anything? Nah, the levered ones, you want to be looking at the actual stocks. Levered ones are more just what they're meant for. They're meant for day trading momentum. DJ Mitch in the house. Waka waka. All right, I'm looking around to see what you guys are watching out there. It's getting to the point where who's taking a cruise? I'll take them. I'm actually going on a cruise next year, but that's just me. I'll tell you, it won't be a Carnival. It'll be Royal Caribbean. Apple trying to hold here. SPY trying to make that next leg. It just hasn't done it yet. One sign that's a good sign is NVIDIA pushing right now. So maybe you're looking at like a stock sell for a trade there. I was looking at maybe potentially a scalp through the 945 going to 950, but not really my type of trade there. I'm more along try to do maybe the mean reversion trade to the VWAP. The CCL thesis isn't a great one. Yeah, it's tough. I still like cruises, man, but I mean, hey, to each his own. Seek said, I'm going on a Disney one in January. Hey, Disney cruise, not too bad. Hope you had some kids at least. I really want to do a cruise to Alaska. Yes, that's a great one. You can start in like kind of Washington and work your way up. I've heard it's definitely legendary, but it's a little bit more of the not the party cruise. Let's just say that. The sightseeing cruise. All right, let's take a look at what else is moving out there. I want to see if what's getting moved in consumer cyclical now is that's taking the third leading sector today. You can see gambling was having a good day. Auto and truck dealerships, I had talked about some of these getting a little bit of a bounce back. KMX, CarMax bouncing back a little bit today. We got some gambling names that we talked about, DK&G. Department stores having a decent day today. Dillard's up 4%. Macy's up almost 4%. So these are not moving bad. KSS, not a bad day for these. SPY, what's going on here? Coming back towards the 363. Wouldn't you know it? A little bit of chop. Now we're running into a little bit of slowdown action here in the SPY as it keeps chopping around up at the top. One that I did sell early. Look at this sell here. I sold way too early on Generac today. Nice little breakout there. Hey, you know, we would have sold out there anyways, close towards that 180. But not a bad move there. Back towards the 182. So if you're able to nail that Generac trade today, hey, shout out to you. Home Depot continuing to bounce back a little bit today. It was down earlier on the day, now coming back here. Lodging, what's going on with the Hyatt? And I know I had earlier in the week upgrade, trying to bounce back. Let's see kind of stocks like Marriott getting a little bit of a bounce back. Interesting to see them getting a little bit of a bounce back, and the cruise just getting destroyed today. Not what you normally see. Normally they kind of run hand in hand, you know, carnival, reopening style trade, And a lot of these will kind of do well when, the cruise lines are doing well, but Airbnb even doing well today. So it just shows me more that lodging is looking at a better upside outlook to recession than probably the cruise lines are. All right, what else is going on out there in the market? At 10 a.m., we did get the University of Michigan consumer sentiment. Let me go ahead and take a look at what we got. Estimates were at 59.5. I'd like to take a look at that. But taking a look at the trading action here, really. SPY is just battling here, and it's a little bit in some sideways chop. Microsoft, how did that one turn out? Well, it's right back down there, just sideways action. Look at this sideways action. And a lot of times when there's sideways action, that's how quickly we can just get chopped up in between the action. Now I'm looking for a true breakout or breakdown. All right, not having a bad day there, but just looking to see if I could take one more trade to kind of give myself a nice day here. It's going to be a battle. We'll see what happens. SPY is starting to slow down. Let's see the Qs. Qs they're trying. They're trying to get that next lift up. And so with that one, I'd be watching kind of like NVIDIA to take that next level. Look how NVIDIA is continuing a nice linear pattern up. That's what you're looking for a lot of the times. An actual trend, right? This is not what we're seeing in an Apple, where you're seeing kind of sideways action. Now it's starting to catch the VWAP finally as it came back from the highs. Let's see if it takes out that 142.80. If it does that, we'll probably get that next level in the SPY. So let's watch now to see if we can get that lift. Tesla held also a little bit more of a linear pattern here. So that's a good outlook there. You don't want to see it get towards 271. Let's see if it gets towards the 274 on a nice push, Tesla. All right, let's take a look at another one that was doing well earlier, which was Rivian. Has held the pullback here. Now looking to take out the 34 on the next level up. SPY it's trying to get through that 365. If it can do that, we should get another little step on up. Energy, not looking bad either. If you're taking a look at some of these oil names, they are starting to come back on up. Trying to get through the high XOM right now of 89. Let's see if it can push through the 80s here and get towards that 89. All right, let me see here, my scanner here. I'm going to give you guys some names that have had some great 5-day price trends versus the market. So, of course, what comes up here, Biogen comes up. LVS, this one's actually interesting. It did pull back recently, but it was trying to get through that 40. We'll see if it can make its way back there. Generac, of course, up 4.75%. Not a bad day for that. CarMax, not looking too bad today. Let's take a look. MPC, Marathon Petroleum Corp. Take a look at this one. Having a really good day today. Starting to bounce back. Had a really nice big push earlier in the week. Let's see if it can hold that 100 now as it just broke through it. Twitter bouncing a little bit today. Etsy, a little bit of a bounce there. Not looking too bad here on the Etsy chart. You can see how you're trying to come back on up towards the 108s. It did do this kind of cut underneath, but you got some good volume here and it's starting to drive it back. Let's see if it could actually get towards 110. And a couple more here. Payc, it's an interesting one. Software name. I don't really like software names right now, but if you do like this one for any reason, I mean, the chart doesn't look bad, at least technically wise. Holding the 200-day moving average right below it, 50-day right above it. Look for it to start trying to close that gap between the 50 and the 200 as those numbers kind of come back towards the mean. Penn, we talked about how that one's having a really good day, and it's showing some bottoming around the 2650. It's not a bad one to kind of keep on watch. I've been waiting to see when Penn would actually come back, and looks like we're trying to get through that 28 resistance. You can see how clearly defined it is, especially on like an hourly or a 4-hour chart. Can we get through there? If not, we could break down back below this bottom trend line. We don't want to see it crack that. As you saw, a big wick this morning, but it quickly recovered. All right, and the last one I'll kind of get into, EMPH, not looking too bad, trying to make another step on up. These have been solar stocks that have made giant leaps, right? I mean, we're going to keep watching to see what happens in the solar stocks. They keep getting lift when the market goes up. Look at JKS today, up 7%. Shell's up 5.9. Run up almost 4.5. Array up. A lot of these companies, there's not one in the red for me today in solar, showing me what? That's relative strength. That's what you want to be seeing. Even a stock that has been pulling back significantly like SEDG is getting a little bit of a bounce today. Look at the 15-minute and how it just took a nice candle towards the upside. All right, we're going to keep going here on Benzinga. Let's see what you guys are talking about in the chat. I'll try to catch up with you guys. Dry lodging needed in Southeast. Yeah, that's for sure. Seniors can't afford cruises. Why not? It's pretty cheap to go on a cruise, really. I mean, when you think about it. Yeah, it's cheaper to float around on a boat than, be outside of a boat and then, cost all expenses in. I agree with MD on that saying. DXY rolled back down. Yeah, the dollar kind of starting to come back down. Thoughts on Medtronic? What's Medtronic's ticker again? I haven't looked that one up in a while. Medtronics. I got it right here. This is why I like TC, at least when I'm looking at tickers, can just type in the name and find it like that. MDT trying to get through the 8330s here. Let's take a look at the daily. I haven't really taken a look at this company before. I mean, it is coming back towards their pandemic low, and so maybe you're looking for a little bit of a bounce. I wouldn't feel too confident about it, but it is getting a little bit of a bounce right now. The question is, will it continue to hold? I would just be watching kind of like a 15-minute pattern. I would really want it to kind of get back and start holding this breakout, right? So it came back through this kind of trend line. It pushed above, gave you a wick. That's not a good sign. You want to see it close above that 83.20. If it closes towards 83.30, you can maybe get that break towards the 83.50s. We'll see what happens here. And if you measure the flag for a breakout measure, it's about 107 from the breakout. So I'd maybe do the 83.10s, looking for a move towards maybe 84.10s maximum profit. But that's just using the flag to try to measure a profit target. All right, if you guys can hit the spam in the chat for me. I don't know if anybody's listening. Maybe AT can hit that spam in the chat. I can't hit it right now. I don't have my Benzinga open, but I know that you guys will hit it. Let's keep going. Let's see what the SPY is doing now. We're trying to get through that 365. That would be that next level up. It gave you a little 5-minute candle where it went right to the resistance. Let's see if we can actually take that next leg. Apple going through the high would be a good look too. Let's see if that happens here. Tesla, is it taking that next step? It's trying to get through that 275. Let's see what happens here. SPY now to 364.80s. Will we get towards the 365s? Man, Generac now to 183. Definitely kicking myself a little bit as I sold that one early today. Made a little bit of a trading execution mistake, and that happens sometimes, team. One thing you do is you go back and you say, what was my process and can I improve it? Like always, like we say here on Benzinga, what can I do better, right? Better mistakes tomorrow. That's what we want to be doing. Bitcoin ripping QS, good call. I'll take a look at it. Microsoft, I'm sure it's taking that nice little lift now. Looks good here. It doesn't look bad. I'm not going to take it because I'm not going to be able to trade for the next, 2 or 3 hours. I'll probably just end up getting off and doing a little bit of research. Coming up on Stock Market Movers later today, I will be talking with Spruce Capital on a short report that they recently put out. So if you want to catch that a little bit later, come on over to Stock Market Movers. That's going to be at 1 p.m. Eastern. Like always, going from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. as I give you all the headlines in the market and, of course, expert opinions to keep you guys in the informational edge. Check out Stock Market Movers. There's the little push there in Microsoft that we've been waiting for about, an hour. Look at the hourly chart, though. This is why I love hourly charts. Hourly charts are cleaner a lot of the times. They would have got us through a lot of that early wick action, and now we're really starting to see it get through that hourly high. which is also another level to watch for kind of a little bit of a breakout level. Now you're starting to really get that push. It's not looking too bad. I'm sure the SPY is approaching the 365s, and there you go. It's in the 365s. Boom. Now we're really starting to get a little bit of a rally. It's not looking too bad today. I was thinking we'd get a little bit of a rally. The PCE might have changed my thoughts, but hey, it's looking like it's not looking too bad. So looks like a decent money day bouncing back today, and especially with a good washout right at the open. A lot of the times what we've been seeing in the opposite side is a lot of bull traps at the open. Today, a bear trap at the open, and you're seeing it come back on up. Apple, I'll look for it to take out the highs now. Boom, up through the highs there, 142.80s. This is what you want to be looking at, guys. Relationships, and leadership, right? Leadership taking lead today. Tesla, Apple bouncing back there after it came down and found the bounce. A lot of what I was going to take a look at the market was going to be determined by Apple. As simple as that sometimes. I know that a lot of people will say, well, you can't just look at Apple and expect that Apple's going to tell you the whole thing. Well, sometimes it does take that much of a driver lead that I can use the relationship to look for the next drive. SPY now up there at 365.60. That's a good outlook there for especially some growth stocks, right? Look at ARKK continuing the linear pattern on up. That's what you want to be seeing for some of these names. Now what's doing good in ARKK? Everything was red in ARKK yesterday. Look at coin up 8% today. Definitely getting a little bit of a spike. You got PACB up. These are their diagnostics and research. There's two big areas that you'll see Kathy get into when she's talking about healthcare. It's diagnostics and research, and a lot of the therapeutic stocks like Beam, like DNA. Look how these are doing well. So these are the companies that you want to be looking at when she's doing well. You could also look at biotech. Those should be doing well. And look at biotech to the right here, up about 2.36%. So that's a good way to kind of keep an eye out on that when you're looking for that movement. So ARKK, definitely a great way to find some good names that are moving today. And a lot of this, those biotechs, NVTA, Diagnostics and Research, Twist, Diagnostics and Research, Biotech, Fate. You also got NTLA, Biotech, CERS. A lot of biotech leading the way there for Kathy to bounce today. And then you'll get into names like Shopify, Unity, getting a little bit of a lift, and even the Hood pushing on up today. So definitely risk off type of day as we're starting to get that push in the SPY. And it's continued as we see this really kind of starting to get that nice lift. Apple, we'll see if it can hold 142.80.
So just do it. Make your dreams come true. Just do it.
That's all I gotta say to you, Mitch. How you doing today?
Just do it. Just do it. Do it. Do it.
You know what I'm going to talk about? You know what I'm going to talk about with that?
that?
What that segues into? Nike stock.
Oh, Nike call here. You
Just
taking
do
a shot?
No, not yet. But I do want to look at the stock. This is a name that I do not mind going long at all soon. We saw, last night, sales better than expected. Wasn't as much the stock reaction to the earnings as much about the quarter, which was pretty strong. It's about more what's expected in the future. We hear that all the time when it comes to earnings, when it comes to guidance, and it's not as much about the quarter. It's more about the outlook, more about what's expected to come. And so certainly some potentially tough quarters ahead for Nike. But I don't know about you, man, Mitch, but at the end of the day, you can have your Yeezys, your Adidas, your Reebok. Nike's still king. They got Jordans. They got the shoes everyone wants. And not just here in the United States, but around the world. And that was part of Nike's great quarter, was sales around the world.
My only concern with Nike in that earnings report was their mentions of inventory growing 65% in North America and overall growing up about 44%. So it seems like they stated why. They said that it was elevated in transit inventory. So kind of trying to get it closer towards the outcome, right? The product, the consumer. But will these high inventories in the long run cause them to do like a target and make like some sales? That's the only concern that I would have.
Yeah, and I mean, probably, and I think that's why we're seeing the stock trade off so much today. It's like I said, it's about what's kind of coming forward or coming in the future, and it's probably going to look like some lower profits because they'll have to do a lot of sales to get rid of this inventory and whatnot. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not, like I said, I'm not taking a stab at Nike right now, but now we are below our pre-COVID levels. So going back to February 2020, if you remember, I mean, people were buying athletic wear and Nikes hand over foot during COVID. The stock almost doubled. It went from like 100 to 170. We're now back to 85. So yeah, I don't mind taking a long here soon.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind. Also, when you think about Nike, let's just be honest. When you're thinking about companies for investment, one of the questions you want to ask yourself is, will this company go away in the next year or so? Well, I'm pretty sure everybody could answer that question and say Nike's not going away in 1 year or two. So, with that being mentioned, yeah, it's not a bad one to take a shot on. The only question will be is how they kind of get around this inventory to finally get that inventory out, make their sales, and of course, continue on their innovation, which they usually have a tendency of leading
and
the
like
way.
you said, Nike's going to be around a while. We're right now from our lows in November 2021, down more than 50%. I expect this name to keep moving lower in the short term. That's why I'm not hopping in quite yet. But if you get down to like Nike's down 60, 70%, and then you don't get into it, that's going to be one of those names in, a few years, you're going to look back and be like, what was I doing not buying Nike down 70%? That was a no-brainer.
Yeah, I think you have to have your shopping list ready, and it goes towards a lot of what you need to be looking at, right? It's not necessarily of what's going to happen in 2022, but what's going to happen in 2023, right? That's why we're going to be putting out a lot of content towards that for you viewers out there in Benzinga. Stay tuned. We got some sneak peeks that we'll be giving you guys into 2023. We did 2 interviews in New York specifically on stock picks towards 2023, because I think that's what everyone needs to be looking at now is what is there going to be their kind of trading strategy moving forward out of the bear market, potentially going back towards a bull market.
Yeah, and even if it's not necessarily, like a ripping bull market like we saw after COVID or in 2020, if it's, just the market stabilized, there are going to be names that are outperforming the market. And it's important to kind of find those pockets of strength, find those stocks that are performing well, even as market returns may be muted. It probably won't be as simple as, I'm just going to buy, QQQ or SPY and make a bunch of money. There will probably be names that are outperforming, and then eventually, hopefully, we do get back to that wide breadth bull market that we saw in 2020.
SPY pushing strong here today. The SPY is back up towards 365. And I don't think you would have been getting that comment from a lot of people, especially after a hot CPE or a hot PCE deflator number. And I thought it was going to come in light. I mean, it just looks like inflation just doesn't want to go away. As much as we all want it to go away, it's like the pandemic. It's sticking around for much longer than everybody expected.
Yeah, and the only I guess reason I can think to why the market's not reacting that negatively to that news right now is because, well, let's remember this was the PCE for August. We already got the CPI for August. It came in higher than expected. We knew inflation in August was higher than expected. I think it's going to be more important now at this point, looking at what does September look like, what does the outlook look like going forward, because you do have a lot of economists, looking at signs, more leading indicators. When you're looking at things like PCE, CPI, they're all lagging indicators. You're looking at last month. Some economists are looking at things, that are looking out in the future, saying inflation looks like it has peaked. So we'll see. I'm not the one calling that, but we shall see.
Yeah, that's one of the things you'll always see the economists kind of flip back towards the leading and laggard indicators. They're going to try to attack the Fed and saying that they're late to the party. But the Fed is just telling you exactly what they do. I don't think that's the worry that any investor needs to be worrying about is if they're using lagging or leading indicators. Just go off of what they're telling you. They tell you right off the bat that they look at PCE, not even the CPI. The CPI report doesn't matter to them. Why? Because what does the CPI data hold? It holds whole household surveys. Is that going to be the level that we want our Fed to be watching? No, the PCE is a way better measurement. Why? Because it's using data from gross domestic product reports from suppliers versus using a household survey, right? And the CPI only accounts for all urban households, right? While the PCE measures goods and services bought by all US households and nonprofits. So this is why the Fed tends to use PCE versus the CPI, because it's a smoother number and it should, in the long run, not be as volatile as CPI is, because CPI can have higher swings with prices changing in, let's say, gasoline or rent. And we've seen that, right? CPI has a tendency of swinging a lot more on those percentage outlooks than the PCE. So that's why the Fed uses the PCE. So I just say, just stick to what they're telling you, right? Until the PCE changes, they're probably going to be in hike rate mode.
Yep. I see someone in the chat saying Levi's earnings next week, possible short. I mean, here's the thing with we just saw with Nike's earnings, sales were better than expected. So if Levi's comes out and says, oh, people were still buying jeans, what if, that company managed their inventory a little bit better than Nike did, and maybe they didn't order as much or whatnot? I don't know. I'm not saying I think Levi's going to beat. I think it would just scare me getting into a short on this stock when it's already beaten up so much. I doubt the expectations are that high. It's pretty cheap right now with a PE of 10. I think there might be better names out there to look for shorts in.
I mean, you're not going to get too much. Let's just be honest. I mean, I've been looking for stocks to go to pandemic lows. How many stocks have we seen do that? Tons of stocks, right? So even if you're going out here and you're maybe looking at a move towards 16 to 14, right now you're at 15. So you're not even going to get that 16. Probably a 15 to 13 or 12 kind of move. It's about $3 on the downside. I mean, if you want to be going after that. But my thing with Levi, and why I do think it is coming down also, is just to kind of support the bearish outlook, would be what Joel would say here, right? The Levi pants, they just never run out. They never worn down. So I don't know about you, AB, if you have a couple of Levi pants, but I think he's kind of right on those. They'll seem to hold up. So we don't go shopping for jeans, every 3 months. At least that's what I think.
Yeah, and actually, what I do like about Levi's right now is they're leaning into that's one of their strengths, right? You buy a product from Levi's, you're going to have it for a while. There's a lot of people out there that are, kind of laying into ripping on a lot of these quote unquote fast fashion companies. Your Sheins, they'll make a bunch of clothes, ship them out. People wear them one time. The type of cheap clothes people buy off Instagram ads is actually one of the worst industries environmentally. So Levi's is leaning into that, saying hey, young people, we are, an environmental friendly option to get clothes from. And I think people have been responsive to that so far.
Yeah, it's a good little spin by the company. I'll give them that. Good little spin. All right, let's take a look at the overall market. It just rejected to try to get towards the 366 level, 365.91 there on the 5-minute high on the SPY. We're still pushing. Apple kind of rejecting from the real breakout towards the 143. So keep that in mind. But now it's just kind of more of a bullish day. We'll see if it ever flips on the day. But not looking too bad there. Tesla got up there towards the 275, but rejecting the hold above that 275. So we could be running kind of on this kind of just balance there. Do we take out the new highs? Come down a little bit. Take out the new highs. The big thing that we want to see is a big retracement in the overall market. Let's say coming back to VWAP. VWAP is now down towards that 363 as you're getting towards 363.15 on the volume weighted average price. All right. Looks like we got Benzinga live after this?
We do.
Ooh.
But not till noon. We're a little later.
Oh, a little later. All right. All right.
Michael Murray will be joining me here in about 10-15 minutes. And then we'll have another cool company joining us before Benzinga live. But Yeah, Mitch, if you need to hop, I can keep it
No worries.
rolling
We'll keep
from
it
here.
going. We'll keep going,
All right.
man. Let's keep it going. All right, let's take a look out there about what's starting to turn around as I'm starting to see the SPY showing some signs that it is going to get a little bit toppy here. Doesn't mean it can't take out the 366, but definitely slowing down the action that's out there. How did that Microsoft move eventually do? I'm just looking at that trade. It was looking good, but it was just taking forever. Finally getting towards that 240 and pulling back. It just doesn't look too strong there. Doesn't look like let's say breakout city, right? We're not getting that type of move here. It's just a nice little steady move back in the overall market. Any names you're looking at for trades today, man?
I don't know. I was looking just at the overall indices mostly. I was watching the Qs earlier. It looks like you know, showing just some strength today after such a weak day yesterday. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't seem like a Friday rally. I'm not buying this Friday rally. Let's say that.
Yeah, it's hard, man. It's what I see a lot of people doing. They're renting stocks. They ain't buying them really. They're just trying to ride the momentum and get on out before the close.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You're good.
No, I was gonna say. I was just gonna say. I think that's what you have to be doing in this environment, right? If you're holding anything like super low, like if I made a trade today and was up a few percent, like I'd rather close that, take my gains, go into the weekend with that, than try to ride anything into Monday, because who knows what can happen. We saw last weekend, before the markets even opened on Monday, was when we had the pound collapsing over the weekend. So we went into Monday like, you know, already with a really bearish headline. So you never know what's going to happen, especially, you know, over the weekend. So right now, I don't think it's the time to really be holding any. If you know, have a high conviction swing trade, of course that's different. But if you're out there trading, then you know, I think right now is the good environment to be in and out.
If you ain't fading, you ain't trading, they say. But definitely, it's a tough environment out there right now. It's been kind of more of a day trader's game because of that, the catalyst that can come in overnight. And most of the time, you know, that's what I like to do. I like to swing trade way more than I like to day trade, because that has been my bread and butter if I look back at statistics. But the main key there too is that, like you're stating it, normally I don't stress about 2 days and if we're going to get a negative catalyst in the next 2 days. I just don't like to stress about that. Now, in this type of market, yeah, it easily happens, right? Where news just comes in, even on stocks you never expected. All of a sudden, it's a brand new, different stock, right? I mean, think about if you were short Biogen and this ticker was going down towards support, towards a 200 breakdown level, and you were like, "Oh yeah, I think we get through there. You know, red markets, we're gonna break." Next thing you know, you get an overnight catalyst. It's back towards 280. It's like, wow. I mean, how do you really deal with that? You can't. That's the truth. You can't deal with that. The only thing you can do is hit the out button once you get up there. But like we'll know, we'll be in too big of a red, and so it's just difficult to swing trade here.
100%, couldn't agree more. Looking at Funko, BB. Oh, what? Yeah, whatever. Did Biogen give back that big move it made the other day, or is it holding its gains?
It came down today, went towards 257. It's just kind of battling there. In the long run, I think it gives up some of it, at least maybe half of it back. Let's say towards maybe like the 240 move, 230s. That's where I could see it coming back to. But it is battling today. Now, Funko is up today based on a partnership. So we were reporting it also. If you take a look there, in collaborations with Warner Brothers Consumer Products, DC today is announcing an exciting new edition of its digital pop series featuring a DC The Brave and Bold number 28, 1959 comic book cover. Is available for fans. And one of the things that they're doing here is they're marrying kind of a physical collection and a digital twin. I think this is a great move by Funko in doing that, because right now, of course, there's still some questions on NFTs, but if you can get a physical collection, a collectible, and the digital collectible, doesn't seem bad to me. I'd take it.
Wait, so so is Funko Pop as its main like revenue stream? Or I'm sorry, is Funko's main revenue stream? It's Funko Pops, like its little action figures.
Pretty much. I mean, it's crazy how much those get bought up, but they do.
I know. I know. Chris Kachi's kids love them. I actually have one for Emmett. If Chris is out there, I still got that. If Chris ever makes it back to Detroit.
Yeah, we'll get him back in. I think he'll come in for the Q4 meeting, so maybe you got a little gift for Chris. But definitely, Funko has been one of the best calls from Chris. I mean, I remember when he called this when it was, giving that spike, and it spiked for a long time. But what I think about that Funko does really well is it works with, licensed kind of products that kids love. Let's just be honest. Kids love the DC characters. And with that being said, it kind of gives them a little bit of a lift, right? They're not making their own characters up. They're just getting licensing from all around, partnerships, collaborations like this one with Warner Brothers to try to get, to some popular characters. I think that's an important thing too.
Yeah, and I think in general, if you are someone that has kids or people with kids, if you pay attention to like what the kids are liking and what the trends are, that can oftentimes lead you to some pretty decent stock picks.
That is true, and I think one thing you want to be looking at is also what Chris does a lot of the time. What are the kids like? The kids like it might start getting a move, right? And so that's how we ended up finding about NFTs in the first place, right? A lot of people were starting to look at NBA Top Shots. They were enjoying that, and all of a sudden a new boom came into the market. You always want to keep up with trends. One of the best ways I recommend is with our writer, Chris Ketchy. If you guys don't have Chris Ketchy on Twitter, I think you're definitely missing out. He's what I would call my trend setter. And so I always ask Chris what trends are going on. You guys can do the same. Hit him up on Twitter. All right, last one I'll talk about is Rent-A-Center. Did you see what happened there? They cut their guidance. They're showing headwinds. And it just looks like the consumer, the average consumer, is starting to get really hit hard there. And do you feel like we're going to really start running into some credit concerns? Do you feel like people have been spending too much on their credit cards? Feel like that's going to come into concern?
I think here's the thing is I think it's as soon as we started seeing that inflation was coming up, you started seeing that people were holding more credit. I think if you see inflation coming down and you see people having more money to spend, you'll see people start paying off their credit cards. I don't know. I mean, it's certainly not a great sign seeing that as people are holding more credit right now, but I don't think you've really started to see default started to increase yet. So until that happens, I wouldn't get too concerned about it.
Yeah, I've been seeing some more delinquencies in used cars. So we know how those kind of came up in prices. But I haven't seen kind of Rent-A-Center's earnings call. I want to really dive in. I'm going to find out a little bit more for stock market movers. I'm going to listen in on the call, see if there was any credit concerns from their customers. Don't know if they gave that information. But of course, sometimes you got to listen to the earnings call to kind of catch these small details. But like always, we're going to keep battling here. I'll be back on Stock Market Movers. And of course, you guys will keep on here with AB and have some more companies. Like always, one of the competitive advantages that we have here on Benzinga is we get to the companies that you might have not heard of, and giving you guys the opportunity to make your own investment decision is so important. Like always, that's what we want to do for you guys at Benzinga, is keep the competitive advantage over other medias that have to, stick to the next kind of topic, cut off interviews short. Well, that's not what we do here at Benzinga. We try to get you all the information to keep you in the informational edge.
Hell yeah, Mitch. Well, thanks as always for hanging out with us. We will see you 1 p.m. Stock Market Movers. Make sure to come back for that. Who do you got? Any big guests today, Mitch?
Yeah, we got Spruce Capital. We're going to talk about a recent short report with Ben Axler, the CEO. So don't miss that. That's going to be at 1:15, but the show starts at 1 p.m. See you there.
Spruce Capital, 1 p.m. Spruce Point. That should be a great interview. I'm going to be tuned in for that. Hope to see y'all tuned in as well. Michael Murray, how you doing today?
Oh, we're good, Aaron Bree. How about you, man?
Good. Cannot complain. So You want to give us a quick rundown for the agenda for the rest of the All Access today?
Yeah, we got one more company presenting. We're going to have Nancy Lurker, the CEO of EyePoint Pharmaceuticals. She's going to join us at 11:40, so a little under 10 minutes here. We'll have a presentation from her. She's actually got some really interesting stuff on clinical trials that they're working on, and a couple other pieces of information. So we're going to deep dive with her on EyePoint, talk about them and what they're up to over there. And then, of course, we do want to throw out the giveaway one more time, too. There's a link in the description for the YouTube. Every time we mention this every week, it seems like we still only get like 7 or 8 people that are filling it out. So, of course, I mean, do it. It's good odds, honestly, to win $100 for that giveaway. So we always want to throw that out there.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what you guys are doing. If you're watching this, if you're tuned in and you're not signing up to that, I don't know what you're doing. You're throwing away a chance at free money. I believe it was it Michael Scott who said that you miss 100% of the shots you don't take?
Is that Michael Scott or Wayne Gretzky? I think it was Wayne Gretzky said it after Michael Scott.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think he stole it from him. But all right, Mike, let's go through some of the top headlines of the day as we get before we get Nancy on. So as we were talking about with Mitch, so the PCE, not the CPI, but the PCE, the Personal Consumption Expenditures Price Index, it's a measure of inflation, came out today higher than expected for August. So we already knew August inflation did not slow down. That number came out this morning before the market opened, higher than expected. The headline from CNBC is Fed's preferred gauge shows inflation accelerated even more than expected in August. You would expect the market to be trading down after that, but it's doing what the market often does and behaving seemingly irrationally, and is up today on that news. Checking in on the overall indices, your Qs, your NASDAQ up nearly 1%, SPY up 0.67%, and your Dow Industrial Average is up about 0.3%. So green across the board on that bad inflation news. That's interesting.
Well, it is, and I mean, part of me wonders, do you think this is just a result of like overselling, right? I was reading another headline this morning that this is the worst 3 quarters we've had since 2015, worst month, worst day that we just had in the entire Q3 of this year. I mean, is this just a case of overselling? I mean, are people just literally fatigued from how much we've been selling off? And it's a lot of it is sentiment too, right? There's a lot of negative sentiment out there, and I think it's been a year full of it so far. So maybe this is just people kind of, you know, feeling like enough is enough. Maybe we need at least a breath of fresh air from the negative news we've had, you know, up until this day all year long.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think part of it too is that we had the market reaction back in, and here, let me get my I can get my Benzinga Pro pulled up and show you. Again, if you guys new to us, pro.benzinga.com for your free 2-week trial. No reason not to try that out. No credit card needed. But well, hold on 1 second. Here, I'll do this. We don't need the sophisticated chart for this. I'll show you right here.
Well, I just like how you're hooked up to everything, so you can actually pull up charts. I'm over here just rolling with a laptop. Nothing doing.
Here, you know, Monday, Tuesday, September 13th. Here's where we got the CPI report. We already kind of had, this is the S&P 500, down 10% since then. Basically, we already had the market reaction to August, to inflation increasing in August. So if the market already got beaten up from inflation being worse than expected in August, and then we get a headline saying, hey, inflation was worse than expected in August, it'd be kind of silly to then expect it to react twice to that news, you know? So I think that's part of it. I think part of it too is maybe some people saying, oh yeah, it was not great, but it wasn't like terrible. The PCE came in at 0.6 compared to the 0.5 estimates. It's not like it was double the expectation.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I was actually really looking forward to our interview with Anne-Marie Band. She's the CEO of the Trading Book. We do that every Friday, and then we send it out the week afterwards. She and her family are down in Florida, so obviously they're dealing with the hurricane fallout. We wish her the best. We hope everybody else is doing okay down there as well. But I was looking forward to kind of breaking some of this down, because one of the things we talked about in our last interview is that it feels like this has been a year where it's just been almost like a deluge of negative headlines and negative reports and negative announcements pretty much every week, right? We've got hurricanes, we've got wars with Ukraine and Russia, we've got, inflation taking off, like everything that we've gotten for the most part, anytime there's major news, it's some kind of negative catalyst. And I feel like at a certain point, there's going to be some shift where people are like, we need some kind of positive news here. And I don't know if it's going to be, you know, this report that we got with the PCE. I don't know if it's going to be something else in terms of like the Fed making an aggressive move to try and move further on inflation. I don't know what it is, but for a long time now, it feels like every week we've got some kind of major negative headline. And of course, the most recent one is the hurricane with Ian, or I mean, you could say the worst one is Tua and his injury with the Dolphins last night. That's also pretty negative. But for a while, it's been all bad news.
Yeah, and I mean, oftentimes you'll see markets kind of bottom out at the most, and you used a great word there, a deluge of negative headlines. You'll often see the markets bottom out when it seems like it's rock bottom, right? When things can't get any worse. And I remember there were points where it seemed like that over the summer. I want to say back in like maybe May, June, where you were getting bad headlines out of Russia, Ukraine. You were getting bad headlines about inflation. You were getting bad headlines about China being completely locked down. So certainly there's always going to be times of times of opportunity when there's a lot of fear out there. We have Nike stock pulled up down 20% in the last month. Again, in names like this that you know are going to be around a while, I'm not saying right now, but eventually you want to start adding to them, because otherwise you're going to look back in 5 years and say, oh my God, Nike was down, Nike was down 50% from its highs and I didn't buy any. Like you just want to pick those companies you know are going to be around a while.
Yeah, and eventually, you do reach a bottom, right? We always do. And for a while, it seemed like again, a whole year full of negative headlines, a whole year full of negative growth. At a certain point, though, you are going to have a bottom. And there will be a point where we're going to make that shift and we're going to realize that things are going to keep moving on. The world is going to continue spinning and we're going to start putting some money back into those positions. And I love the point that you made, where eventually you're going to look back and you're going to say, if I would have put money into these positions 5 years ago, when at the time everything was negative news, nobody was happy about anything, if I would have just realized that eventually we're starting to flatten out, we've hit a point where we've had a ton of bad news, yes, but buy into that dip. There's a really smart guy here in this office. His name is Thomas Cotter. We're having a very intense conversation this morning about buying the dip. And Tommy is planning on buying the dip. He's adding to some positions right now. I know he's into Microsoft heavily. We're starting to finally see some people having those discussions about we may be near the bottom. And again, like you said, if you know some of these companies are going to be around for a while, put some positions in. It's not going to last forever.
And Microsoft is definitely in that category. Real quick, because I know we're getting Nancy on a minute. You mentioned the Tua headline last night. That was scary. Just hope he's okay. Honestly, people should lose their jobs over that. If you guys did not see what happened, Miami Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa last Sunday, so at this point 5 days ago, seemingly got a concussion, got hit, tried to get up, fell down. People were like, oh my God, how'd you put him back in the game? Thursday night football game. The first one was September 25th, or sorry, maybe September 24th. The second one was September 29th. 4 days later, they put him back in. He gets an even worse concussion. People should lose their jobs over that, because I don't think you could be the biggest diehard Dolphins fan in the world. I think anyone could tell you that game's not worth that,
No, I mean, aside from the fact that he's a franchise quarterback and got to protect it, he just got to take care of people, man. So obviously, terrible headline. We're hoping the best for him. And of course, everybody else in Miami, the state of Florida, wishing the best for everybody with Hurricane Ian. Hopefully everybody is staying safe. But with that, we're going to go ahead and move on into All Access and finish up with our last company. It is 11:40. We're going to go ahead and bring on Nancy Lurker, the CEO of EyePoint Pharmaceuticals.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Nancy. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
They're good. Thank you. I actually live in Florida, so we dodged a bullet, but I feel terrible for everybody in Fort Myers and South. It's just awful.
Well, certainly. Obviously, we're extending our best to you and your family as well. Hope you guys are going to stay safe. And, of course, everybody else in Florida. It's obviously a ton of damage down there right now. With headlines all this morning about how rough it is. So hopefully you guys are staying safe, staying okay, and hopefully you and yours are all doing okay.
Thank you.
So
we were all fine.
Wishing all the best to all of you guys in
that's
Florida.
Okay.
Hey, you know what? As long as everybody's staying safe,
Yeah.
we're good. Well, wishing you guys all the best. Nancy, it's great to have you with us this morning. Thank you so much for being with us. Give us a quick 30,000-foot view of EyePoint Pharmaceuticals. What is the company all about?
Yes, so I'm going to try to make this as simple as possible. We are a biotech company. We've got a couple drugs on the market, but most importantly, we've got a potential blockbuster in phase 2. And the category that we are studying is what we call back of the eye diseases: wet AMD, retinal vein occlusion, non-proliferative diabetic retinopathy, and hopefully diabetic macular edema. These diseases are very, very large. They're the leading cause of blindness for people who are older. And of course, with the demographics going on in the developed world, it's just going to keep going up. Just to give you some benchmarks, if you go look at, for instance, EYLEA from Regeneron, that's a $10 billion drug, and that treats these diseases. You've got Lucentis from Roche, and then you've got a number of other drugs that are coming in the pipeline. But the problem with all these products, they're called anti-VEGF. So their goal is to clear up the fluid in the eye, because it's the fluid that causes the blindness. And once you get that fluid, your eye starts to atrophy, and then you permanently lose your vision. It's terrible. The problem is these treatments like EYLEA, Lucentis, Avastin's another one. It's not actually approved for back of the eye, but it's used in an off-label setting. They're all being administered once every month or once every 2 months. You have to get your eye injected in the doctor's office for the rest of your life. Now, there have been some new products just approved recently. Another one from Roche Genentech, which is Vabysmo, and that's you can get about 45% of patients up to every 4 months. And then Genentech launched a port delivery system, but that requires surgery, and they can get a lot of patients, well, majority of patients, out to 6 months, which is great. The problem is that it requires surgery. And so for these mostly elderly patients, sometimes it may not be the best option. So that right now there's a big push to try to get a majority of patients out to 6 months. Number one, patients are going to be able to comply. Number two, the doctor's offices are jammed with these patients. They call them injection days. They're just lined up to come in and get their eyes injected. And the third issue, there really is a social equity component here, because, you know, a lot of people, if you've got the means, you can get a caregiver or a family member or you might have a car and you can get yourself into the office. But if you're in the lower social economic groups and you don't have transportation, so you got to get on a bus, you may not have anybody to tap in to help you, or you got a job you've got to be at. It's not so easy. So everyone's trying to get to these much longer treatments, and that's where we come in. So we've got a once every 6 month bioerodible implant in the eye. It's administered in the doctor's office, just like the regular eye injections. And we're in phase 2 with 2 studies. We just announced our last study. We just got our first patient dose. So for wet AMD, and then for non-proliferative diabetic retinopathy, otherwise known as just diabetic retinopathy. So we're pretty excited.
Outstanding. Okay, great information, great recap there to kick us off. You talked about some of the larger drugs in this market, right? The $10 billion drugs that already exist for this. Take us through a little bit of the competitive landscape of what you're doing, right? Because obviously what you guys are doing with your 6-month time frame in between these injections, take us through how difficult it is to kind of make a dent in this market when you've got these massive $10 billion drugs already out there. And there are other differentiators beyond just the 6-month time frame that really sets you guys apart in what you're doing.
Okay, so really, really good questions. So first of all, our drug is a different mechanism of action than the EYLEAs and the Lucentises and the Avastin and others that are approved. In fact, all of them that are approved right now are what we call these large molecule anti-VEGFs. We operate differently. We actually are a small molecule, and we're a tyrosine kinase inhibitor. And there's no tyrosine kinase inhibitors yet approved for the treatment of eye disease. There's lots of them approved for treating tumors, so they're well proven. And why might it be important? Because when you're treating these complex diseases, so for your listeners, think of like even hyperlipidemia or hypertension or type 2 diabetes. What we've found in medicine is that it's often better to have more than one way that you target the disease. And sometimes with a lot of patients, they're on multiple different mechanisms of action. Because if you tackle the disease from 2 different points, oftentimes you'll end up with better results. So that's where we come in. We've got a different mechanism of action. It's a small molecule. It actually targets at what we call the receptor level. I don't want to get too scientific here. Whereas the large molecules actually latch on to the bad enzyme called VEGF that's causing this proliferation of blood vessels and fluid. We actually block it at the receptor level. So what happens is, because we have a different mechanism of action, we're seeing hints already that we could provide neuroprotection. That means you actually protect the optic nerve in the back. And why is that? We did a very, very interesting, well-validated animal model showing that these mice who got our drug, when you purposefully detach the retina, they continue to maintain their eyesight better than placebo. And you've never seen that before. Some of the large molecules have run these experiments with no effect. Now, I want to caution everybody, this is still very, very early stage. It's animal models, but there's a lot of data out there that says these tyrosine kinase inhibitors may provide a benefit. So how does that come in? Well, first of all, we don't position ourselves as replacing those big molecule drugs, the big blockbuster drugs. We are an add-on. So how does that work? You come in, you might just be newly diagnosed. The doctor's still going to use the existing therapies to get your eye dry. Oftentimes you got fluid built up in the eye. So they'll use the big, large molecule drugs to get that eye dry. Then that's where we come in. For the majority of patients, right now, based on our phase 1 data, which was very safe, you probably can use, assuming our phase 2 and phase 3 pans out, use our, what we call EYP 1901, put it in the patient's eye, and then for 53% of patients, we got 53% of patients out to 6 months, they never needed any additional care. Then you just put another one in. Remember, these are bioerodible. And so every 6 months, you just get this. However, some patients, again, the other 50, may need a supplemental injection of these large molecules just to maintain them. And that's where you get sort of this additional supplemental care where you're using a large molecule once in a while, but a whole lot less than you were before. And maybe a patient only comes in once every 4 months. Maybe they come in once every 6 months and they still get another EYP 1901. So we still believe we're going to capture a very large majority of the market, but we do provide a different mechanism of action. And we are the maintenance therapy for patients once they are cleared up and stable.
Outstanding. Okay, so can you talk a little bit more about some of the unmet needs that some of these people are dealing with when it comes to the industry that you're in and the problem that you're addressing? What are some of the lack of standard of care, especially before EyePoint came on the scene, right? And with what you guys are bringing to the table now, what were some of the unmet needs and what were some of the challenges these people faced before you guys brought the solution that you have?
Yes, well, let me say a couple things. First of all, the current therapies today are very effective. They work and they're safe. So the number one hurdle is if you come with anything new in the market, you have to be safe. But as I mentioned earlier, the problem is you got to go in and get your eye injected every month or every 2 months. Now you might be able to get 45% of patients out to every 4 months with Vabysmo, but still you got to come in for the rest of your life. Well, when you look at the big databases, because these drugs have been available for a long time now, when you look at the big databases, the problem is the patients overall do well for the first couple of months because they're getting their eyes cleared up. They might get stabilized and then you start to see vision decline. And the number one reason why that vision is declining is because they don't come in. They miss visits. And we know that if you miss a visit, even 1 or 2 visits, you're going to start to have a long-term negative impact on your eyesight. So that's number one. So the biggest issue is getting these patients out to a much longer time period when they need that additional therapy. And that's where, again, as I said, right now in our phase 1 data, we showed 53% of patients out to 6 months. We actually got 35% of patients out 12 months with no additional therapy because it depends on the patient. Every eye is different. So these are really, really awful eye disease burdens that these patients have. And just put yourself in their shoes. And we've heard patient testimonial after patient testimonial, trying to get either you or your caregivers to take you in every month for the rest of your life or every other month. It's enormous. They just can't do it. Not to mention the burden on the healthcare system, the cost. These are not cheap drugs. So we're pretty optimistic. I just want to say as well, the good news is we do have some of the best biotech funds invested in us. They see the opportunity. We've got a best-in-class drug delivery system. We got 4 drugs on the market today, approved by the FDA using our drug delivery system, and it's very, very safe. So we're pretty bullish about this unmet need that really exists in terms of getting these patients so that they can come in much less frequently to get their eyes, injected. Who wants to get their eye injected every month? I don't.
I agree with you there. I absolutely don't either. It's funny, you know, especially when it comes to eye care too. Eyes are one of the things that I've always been super very edgy about, right? I'm very careful about my eyes. I want them to be taken care of. I'm very careful about protecting them. So a solution like this is exactly something that I've been waiting to hear personally, right? So obviously very important. And I don't want to go too far either before we get into the slides that I know you have in this deck too. Is there anything particular you want us to pull up and look through as far as info here?
Yeah, I think, you know what? Again, I'm going to get into a little bit of detail because if your listeners start to investigate us, um, one of the things we are right now, for the 6-month deliveries, we're ahead of everybody else. There's actually a couple companies behind us, but for our phase 2 studies, and this is where maybe you can pull the slides up and I can quickly go through this. You can skip through this. And your listeners, I think, are you going to post this, you guys, so that your listeners
Yeah,
can
yep, we'll have this up live
all
or
right, so
posted
you guys
afterwards.
see this. This is our approved drugs on the market today already. We got bioerodible. I'm not going to go into all that. It's very, very compelling, our position in the marketplace. Keep going. This is a picture actually of our implant in the eye. That looks like it's kind of big, but it's really not. It's very, very tiny. Most doctors can't even find it in the eye. It tends to float to the very bottom of the eye and just sit there eluding its medicine. Go to the next slide. Yeah, this is actually what I talked about, where we bind at the receptor. If you look up above where it says VEGF-A, that's what a lot of the large molecules, they'll grab onto the VEGF that's floating around in the vitreous and lock it in place so that it can't cause a negative effect. We actually block the receptor, so it actually can't get in and lock and key and cause a negative effect. It's a very different mechanism of action. We actually go across all those different VEGF receptors. And so we don't fully understand all the effects, but we believe there could be some other positive effects that allows for. More to find out on that. Next slide. Yeah, I'm going to have you move through this fairly quickly. This is just, I'm not skip through this one. This is just the study of the design. Very, very safe. As I said, the current therapies on the market today are very safe. So if you're going to bring anything to market, you better be safe. We were very pleased with our phase 1 results. Exceptional safety. We had one mild with the front of the eye where there was a little bit of flare, easily treated with one eye drop, which is just a steroid in 8 days. Patient didn't even notice it. The doctor saw it. And so very, very positive safety here. Next slide. This is what we call a swim lane plot. Take a look. This is our 12-month data. Take a look to the left of where you see the pink dots. That's the number of injections all these patients were getting prior to being enrolled in our study. And then take a look to the right. That's the number of injections they got after getting our implant. And you can see it was a 73% reduction overall in the number of supplemental care that they needed. So it's really a remarkable reduction. And as I said, we got a number, 53% of patients out to 12 months with no additional injections, and 35% out to 12 months. 6 months was 73%, 35% out to 12 months with no injections. So a really big drop in the number of injections that were needed. And that's what we're aiming for, while we maintain their vision, by the way. Next slide. Yeah, and so here is just the number of patients that we got out in time with no need for additional supplemental care. And actually, this did better than we thought it would. We were very, very pleased with these results. Next slide. Okay, yeah, keep going. This is just a summary of that study. Now, this is you can go to the next slide. This is a subset analysis that we did because there's another company out there that actually has a tyrosine kinase inhibitor, and we want them to be successful because they just announced results. It's Ocular Therapeutics. They just announced results with their tyrosine kinase inhibitor, which is a different one than ours. And they showed some very good results, which we're happy about because it just keeps showing these TKIs work. So we're really pleased that their data show that it works. They designed their study a little differently than ours. So in order to compare apples to apples, we did a sub-analysis looking at patients that matched their patients. And this is the sub-analysis. And what we showed that these patients that had no fluid on entry, meaning a lot of these patients will get treated, but they can't clear up the fluid completely. We had all comers come into our study. They didn't. They only allowed patients who were completely clear. So when you look at the patients who are completely clear, we maintain vision. That's what this shows, and that's good. Next slide. And this just shows the supplemental injection-free rate of those fluid-free eyes. And you can see that out to month 6, we got 67%, out to month 7, 67%, all the way out to month 9, we still had 67%, and out to month 12, over 50% were supplement-free. And that's a large number of patients that do get cleared up with existing therapies, and they tend to do very, very well on our drug. Next slide. And this is looking at a 92. You can see these patients, wow, 92% reduction in the number of injections that they needed. And let me just say this, the payers are going to like this, the doctors are going to like this, and the patients are going to like this, because they don't want to be coming and getting their eye injected as much as they were getting. And look at this. They ended up with only 3 injections, and I haven't even counted how many this cohort was getting prior to being enrolled in the study. So just really, really terrific results here. Next slide. So this is this treat to maintain. Again, we're not saying we're replacing the current therapies. We believe get the patient in, get them stabilized, and then put 1901 in their eye and watch them after that. And you can see that right now, based on our phase 1 data, which was 17, so I want to caution your audience, it's 17 patients, and it was non-controlled. We didn't have a control arm. So, but with that, you still saw this dramatic reduction in overall treatment burden. Next slide. So treat to maintain, that's what we call it this, get the patient's eyes dry, put EYP 1901 in, maintain them on 1901, use the supplemental care as needed after that, and hopefully, based on those data, it's a much less burdensome treatment. And, again, there's no guarantee. Drug development is very risky, but we remain optimistic, partly because our Duracert drug delivery is so well proven, and partly because the TKI we're using, vorolanib, went all the way through humans in phase 2, showed very good results treating wet AMD, but they did have these nasty systemic side effects, which we right now don't get with 1901 because it's only delivered locally. So we're quite pleased. We're very bullish on our prospects and believe that we're set up well for the future. Again, no promise. I want to caution your audience. These are always risky, but we believe we've been well vetted and de-risked more than the average phase 2 product. Next slide.
Absolutely.
If you want to, I can go through real quickly.
Yeah,
you don't need to go through the next ones. We've already gone through, we've initiated our phase 2 in wet AMD. We've initiated our phase 2 in non-proliferative diabetic retinopathy. We expect to have a readout of those data, so keep an eye open for that, probably late next year. And our balance sheet looks pretty good. We've got $171 million in cash, thank God. As of June 30th, we got $40 million in debt. But we're in a great spot right now. We expect that we'll have cash through the second half, up to the second half of 2024, which is well past our data readout.
You literally read my mind. I was actually going to jump in and ask, just wanted to cover the financing side for a second before we close. So I'm really glad you covered that point. That's awesome. And I know we are close on time, so I'll cut short the multiple questions that I had left for you. But one thing I do want to know, especially, is as we go into Q4 and then the next couple of quarters of next year, the financing side sounds great. You're going to have money into the second half of the year. Are there any other milestones in the drug pipeline or announcements, acquisitions, anything of that nature that investors should have somewhere on the radar as we go into the next couple of months?
Well, what I would say, the big one was getting the second patient dosed in the non-proliferative diabetic retinopathy. So we got our 2 trials now running full steam. We still have to get everybody enrolled, but that's very active. We'll probably announce when we're fully enrolled. And look, we always have a lot going on behind the scenes. So I would just say we don't expect to be quiet over the next 12 months while we're waiting for results. I can't say a whole lot more than that, but we're always working on different things behind the scenes. It's a pretty aggressive team. We really like to deliver results, and it's a pretty savvy team, I might add. I don't know if Dr. Jay Duker, he's our chief operating officer. He's really one of the world's top KOLs as a retinal surgeon, 21 years as chairman of ophthalmology at Tufts. He came on board. You don't get a guy like Jay Duker to join this company unless he really believes this is going to be a potential blockbuster and, you know, potentially successful. So we're quite pleased. We got great investors, and I couldn't expect to be in a better spot than we are now. So just stay tuned. If you want to put us on your Google alerts, and you'll see things as they come in during the year.
That's wonderful. We're ringing endorsements. And you know what? Because we're right here, before we close, we did get a question from our chat, and I do want to ask it. Producer Aaron Thomas may not be very happy with me because we're going to go 2 minutes over, but I think it'll be okay. One of our audience members asked, are there any eye drop treatments for VEGF in your company's research? Is there anything along those lines you can share?
No, let me quickly comment on that. There was a company called Panoptica that was trying to do eye drops. They failed. It's very, very hard to penetrate the anterior part of the eye. There's a barrier there. Plus, you've got your lens from your eye lens, and you can't get through it. So really, there's nothing's in development. So there's nothing in the works. The name of the game right now is still these injections into the back of the eye. I know it sounds terrible, and it is, which is why we're trying to get this out to once every 6 months. But there's nothing in the pipeline for us or anybody else that I'm aware of for eye drops to treat these diseases.
Understood. Well, I'm glad we got that last little bit of information in there. A ton that you've shared with us just this morning. Nancy, it's been a wonderful conversation. We certainly hope to have you back soon. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Nancy Lurker, CEO of EyePoint Pharmaceuticals. Joining us there is our last guest on All Access here on this Friday. A couple of things before we wrap. Of course, we want to thank all of the companies that present and bring on their knowledge, their inspiration, everything else they're doing at the companies. Certainly keep them on your radar. Look out for more coming soon. And then, of course, we want to thank our sponsor, Ticker. You can get involved at ticker.com. We're going to roll their intro one more time so you can see how to get involved with the company. And then we'll close out and move on to the next show.
What is Ticker? That's right, Ticker with 2 eyes, just like you. Because it's for you, for investing, for stock perks, for connecting you to public companies who reward you as a shareholder, as a brand lover. That's why people can't stop tickering. Ticker, where investors discover shareholder perks and consumers become investors in the brands they love. Ticker.
And that's it. I think we're back. Slowed down for a second there, but that is the close of All Access. Of course, once again, thank you to the companies. Thank you to our sponsor, Ticker, and everybody else that gets involved. Bring your questions for the chat next time. Get involved with the companies. Ask the CEOs your questions directly. We'll see you guys here next week on All Access. Have a great weekend.